Hello there, and welcome to Just About Earth, where curiosity moves slower than time itself and science sounds a bit like a lullaby. If you're here tonight, maybe you've had a long day, maybe your eyes are heavy, or your room is finally quiet enough to hear the hum of the world around you. Let's take that quiet and stretch it a little, because even when you rest, something else doesn't. The question tonight is simple, and yet endlessly deep. Why does Earth never sleep? It sounds poetic, but it's also literal. Every second, while billions of humans close their eyes, the planet keeps turning. Winds circle the poles, ocean tides rise and fall, volcanoes pulse with molten breath, and the forests whisper in the dark. If Earth were a living being, and in many ways it would be a creature that never truly rests. You might be lying in bed right now, listening to the faint rhythm of your own breathing. That rhythm, inhale, exhale, pause, feels peaceful. But beneath you, under the mattress, the floor, the soil, and the rock, another rhythm moves. The slow expansion and contraction of a planet that's been awake for 4.5 billion years. Picture it. The mantle shifting like a vast tide of stone. The magnetic field humming like a heartbeat. The oceans drawing breath with every moonrise. Somewhere, halfway across the world, dawn is blooming while you drift towards sleep. The planet turns, and in turning, it dreams for all of us. It's strange to think about, isn't it? Every living thing you know, the cat by your window, the tree outside, even you needs rest. Cells repair themselves, hearts slow down. Sleep is nature's mercy, a pause between bursts of activity. And yet the planet itself never takes that pause. It spins at roughly 1,600 kilometers per hour at the equator, without ever stopping for even a breath. If it did, everything would change. Winds would vanish, oceans would lurch, continents would bake and freeze in silence. So, Earth cannot sleep. It isn't built for stillness. You might call that tragic, a world condemned to motion. But maybe it's something else. Maybe it's devotion. A mother who stays awake while her children rest. A guardian that hums through the night, keeping the conditions for life just right. Think about your own neighborhood at this hour. Most windows are dark, streetlights blink, insects buzz, and in the distance, maybe a single car hums along an empty road. It feels like everything has stopped. But zoom out a little more, and the illusion of rest disappears. Clouds still swirl across entire oceans. Storms bloom in the tropics. On the other side of the planet, sunlight floods over deserts, powering photosynthesis, filling the air with new oxygen. The Earth's rotation means that while half of us dream, the other half wakes. There is no collective silence, no moment where every living being stops. There's always someone, somewhere, listening to the wind. Scientists call this continuous dynamic equilibrium, a fancy way of saying everything is always in motion, but the overall system stays balanced. It's what keeps your atmosphere breathable, your oceans circulating, your seasons turning. It's a miracle of constant change that never collapses into chaos. And somehow, in all of that endless motion, you find enough calm to sleep. Maybe that's the quiet genius of this planet. It keeps moving so that you can stop. It stays awake so that you can dream. If you could step outside your body right now and drift upward, you'd see your room from above, tiny, glowing softly in the dark. Higher still, the city would look like a constellation of lights scattered across blackness. Higher, and you'd see the curve of the Earth itself, half in night, half in dawn, with clouds glowing silver under the moon. From that view, nothing sleeps. The atmosphere glows faintly from the aurora at the poles. Lightning flickers through storm systems the size of continents. And in the ocean, plankton release tiny sparks of blue bioluminescence, a kind of planetary heartbeat that never stops. You might wonder, does that mean Earth is conscious? Is it aware that it never rests? Probably not, at least not in the way we are. But awareness doesn't have to mean thought. Sometimes awareness is rhythm. The moon pulls the tides. The tides feed the coral. The coral release oxygen into the sea. And you, breathing quietly in your bed, are part of that same chain of wakefulness. When you were born, your body learned to sync with this planet's rhythm, your heartbeat, your sleep cycle, even the way you feel tired at night and alert in the morning. It's all linked to the turning of Earth. In a way, you've never been separate from its motion. Even when you close your eyes, you're still spinning, still traveling, still part of the planet's endless rotation toward light. So maybe the right question isn't, why doesn't Earth sleep? Maybe it's, what would happen if it did? If the winds stopped, the seas stilled, the tectonic plates froze. Life would fade like a candle without oxygen. Sleep, for Earth, would be death. That's the paradox. Every living thing depends on rest, but life itself depends on motion. The planet's sleeplessness is what makes your sleep possible. The warmth in your blanket began as sunlight stored in molecules. The air in your lungs was once part of a thunderstorm. You are, quite literally, breathing the dreams of a sleepless world. Now take another slow breath. Inhale through your nose. Hold it and let it go. That's the same air that has circled this planet for millions of years. The same molecules once flowed through trees, oceans, volcanoes, even dinosaurs. Nothing on Earth ever really rests. It just changes form endlessly, gently, beautifully. So as you lie there tonight, remember this. You are not separate from the planet that carries you. You're part of its wakefulness, part of its breathing, part of its dream. And while you drift towards sleep, the Earth will keep turning, humming softly beneath your feet, carrying you through another night, on a journey that never ends. Beneath everything you've ever known, your bed, your home, the streets you walk, there's motion. Not the kind you can see or feel, but a deep, endless trembling. The Earth's crust, what we call solid ground, is not solid at all. It drifts, shifts, and sighs like a living chest rising and falling. If you listen closely enough, the planet is never silent. It hums. Scientists call it the Earth's background seismic noise. Tiny vibrations moving through stone and soil, a quiet resonance that never stops. Some of it comes from the ocean waves crashing against coasts, their impact echoing through the seabed. Some comes from wind brushing against mountains. Some comes from the heat at Earth's heart, rising like a slow pulse from a furnace miles below. To human ears, that hum is too low to notice, but if you could translate it into sound, it would feel like a heartbeat, steady, patient, ancient, a rhythm that says, I am still here. You might imagine that the ground you stand on is firm, eternal, but the truth is, it's more like a raft, floating on a sea of molten rock. Under your feet, the mantle circulates in colossal loops, hot rock rising, cooler rock sinking, a slow convection that has been going on for billions of years. That circulation is the reason continents drift, mountains rise, volcanoes breathe. Without it, the planet's surface would stagnate. No new land, no recycling of minerals, no renewal of life. So when you feel the Earth tremble, even faintly, you're feeling a heartbeat, not a metaphorical one, a literal rhythm of heat and gravity that defines what this planet is. Think of it this way. Our planet has layers like a body, a metallic core like a heart, a mantle like muscle and blood, a crust like skin. Each layer moves at its own pace, but all of them share the same purpose, to keep the whole alive. At the very center, roughly 6,000 kilometers below you, there's a sphere of molten iron and nickel spinning within another molten shell. That motion generates Earth's magnetic field, an invisible shield that protects us from cosmic radiation and solar wind. Without it, the atmosphere would have been stripped away long ago. The oceans would have boiled off. The sky would be empty. You can't see that magnetic field, but you live inside it, bathed in its silent protection every second of your life. It's one of the many ways Earth stays awake. A guardian, spinning endlessly so that everything above can keep breathing. When you walk on sand, you're standing on the remains of mountains that once reached the clouds. When you pick up a pebble, you're holding a fragment of something that used to be deep underground. The land never sleeps either. It just changes form. Mountains crumble. Rivers carve valleys. Volcanoes build new land from fire. It's a cycle of destruction and creation that never truly pauses. Imagine the patience of that rhythm. A mountain range takes millions of years to rise, so slow that if you stood there for a lifetime, you'd never notice it move. And yet it moves, one grain of sand at a time. The Earth breathes not in seconds, but in epochs. Its exhale can last an ice age, its inhale a continent's birth. Even the ocean floors shift. Every few centimeters each year, entire continents glide like giant ships, colliding, drifting apart, reforming new worlds. The Atlantic Ocean grows a few inches wider each year, so subtle, so constant, that no one notices but the planet itself. Somewhere beneath Iceland, magma is rising, splitting a seam between two great plates. It's like the Earth stretching in its sleep, if, of course, it ever slept at all. Every quake, every eruption, every trembling of stone is a reminder. The ground beneath us is alive with motion. What we call disaster is, to Earth, simply movement, a necessary rearrangement, its own kind of breathing exercise. Sometimes, when a volcano erupts, we imagine it as rage, a violent outburst from below. But it's not anger. It's pressure being released, the same way you sigh after holding your breath too long. It's the planet keeping itself balanced, making sure the heat from within has somewhere to go. Without those sighs, without tectonic motion, the planet's crust would thicken, trapping the heat inside. Eventually, the surface would crack open in cataclysm, a single, deadly breath instead of many small ones. So even the earthquakes that frighten us are part of Earth's self-care, its way of never sleeping too deeply. It's worth remembering that sleep, in biological life, isn't the absence of activity. Your body is still busy when you dream repairing, sorting, cleaning. Maybe Earth is the same. Maybe what we call stillness is simply too slow for our eyes to notice. Maybe what we see as calm is only a pause between pulses. Think of the wind that shapes dunes, the glaciers that grind mountains down, the rain that cuts through canyons. Each is a heartbeat, a rhythm, a slow-motion reminder that change never ends. If you were to speed up time, 1,000,000 years per second, you'd see the planet dance. Mountains would rise and melt like waves. Continents would drift like clouds. Oceans would spill and retreat like breath. You'd see that what we call sleep is just a trick of our short attention span. So tonight, as you listen, know that the silence beneath your room is only surface silence. Miles below, the mantle is turning. The crust is flexing. The core is spinning faster than the rest of the planet, pushing out invisible lines of magnetic force that reach beyond the sky. If you could stand at the center of the Earth, you'd feel no weight at all, only warmth, motion, and the slow sound of a planet remembering itself. And maybe that's what keeps everything alive, a restlessness that never fades, a heartbeat that never stops. It doesn't matter whether you call it physics or poetry. The result is the same. The Earth keeps moving, and because it moves, we can rest. So take another breath, slow and easy. Feel the stillness beneath you, and know it isn't still. It's the quiet pulse of something vast and ancient, keeping time for every life on its surface. The earth never sleeps. It only dreams in stone. Look up. Even now, while you lie there listening, the sky above you is moving. It doesn't look like it, not from the window of a quiet room, but the air is never still. Every second, invisible rivers of atmosphere are flowing across the planet, carrying heat, moisture, dust, and memory from one place to another. It's easy to forget that this ocean of air is part of Earth too. It is the planet's breath. No new land, no recycling of minerals, no renewal of life. So when you feel the Earth tremble, even faintly, you're feeling a heartbeat, not a metaphorical one, a literal rhythm of heat and gravity that defines what this planet is. Think of it this way. Our planet has layers like a body, a metallic core like a heart, a mantle like muscle and blood, a crust like skin. Each layer moves at its own pace, but all of them share the same purpose: to keep the whole alive. The earth breathes through all of us continuously, endlessly. There's no pause, no moment when the circulation stops. Even in the calmest midnight, the wind is still drifting somewhere, curling over deserts, slipping between mountains, swirling above the wide, dark sea. From orbit, it looks almost like skin, thin, glowing blue along the edge of the planet. That thinness is humbling. If you could hold the entire atmosphere in your hands, it would fit within the height of a single day's drive, barely 100 kilometers thick. And yet, within that narrow band, every life that ever breathed has existed. The earth never sleeps because the air never does. You might think of a windless night, the leaves motionless, the air heavy. But even then, the sky above is alive with motion. Jet streams race faster than sound. Storms spin slowly like giant gears. Currents of warm and cold air weave across latitudes, balancing heat between equator and pole. It's a rhythm older than language, the planet's quiet way of keeping itself in harmony. Long before we had machines to measure it, ancient people could sense this breath. Sailors learned its moods. Farmers read its patterns in clouds. They didn't call it meteorology. They called it spirit, because it moved as life moves unseen, yet everywhere. At sunrise, air warms and rises. At night, it cools and sinks. A slow inhale, a slow exhale. Every dawn since the world began has followed that same pulse. And through that pulse, life learned to grow. Plants breathe with the planet. During the day, they exhale oxygen, and at night, they draw it back in, mirroring the diurnal rhythm of the sky itself. Forests inhale our carbon. We inhale their gift of air. Each breath is an exchange, a quiet conversation that never ends. If you could hear the sound of this movement, it would be a vast, low hum, air brushing against mountains, oceans whispering to clouds, lightning cracking open oxygen molecules to make new compounds. Even the silence of space can't quiet that song. The planet's breath reaches beyond its surface, trailing out as thin wisps that merge with the solar wind. And when the wind grows wild in storms, hurricanes, tempests, that too is part of the pattern. A storm is not rage, it's balance. It's how the planet redistributes its heat, the way you might shift your weight when you've been sitting too long. Every gust, every cyclone, every raindrop is the atmosphere stretching, adjusting, realigning itself. When lightning flashes, you're watching the Earth's nervous system spark. When thunder rolls, you're hearing its heartbeat echo through the air. When rain falls, you're feeling its sigh. Have you ever stood outside before a storm? That moment when everything seems to hold its breath? The air grows heavy, the light turns strange, and for a few seconds the world feels suspended. That's not stillness. That's anticipation, the inhale before the exhale, the calm before the wind begins again. The atmosphere connects every place to every other. A molecule of air from your breath tonight might reach the Himalayas next month and circle the globe in a year. There is no border in this ocean of sky. What rises in one hemisphere eventually settles in another. It's a slow, invisible migration, a reminder that everything on this planet shares one breath, and inside that breath lives memory. Tiny grains of pollen, salt, ash, and dust. Each one a note in Earth's long song. Particles from ancient volcanoes still drift in the air today. Traces of old fires, the scent of vanished forests, the sighs of extinct animals, all of it mingles in the atmosphere's endless exchange. You are breathing history every moment of your life. The air in your lungs has touched everything: oceans, glaciers, deserts, meteors, and countless beings long gone. There's something deeply comforting about that, as if the planet is whispering, you belong to all that has ever been alive. At night, when you drift towards sleep, your breath slows, but the planet's doesn't. High above, winds still howl over the Andes, sandstorms dance across the Sahara, monsoons roar over the Indian Ocean, and yet, here in your quiet room, that same air slips softly through your window, gentle enough to cool your skin, ancient enough to have known the first dawn. It shifts heat, carries light, dissolves air, and hides whole worlds beneath its rippling skin. From the surface, it looks calm, a blue mirror reflecting clouds. But beneath that surface, there's motion on every scale. Currents stretching across oceans, eddies spinning like whirlpools of thought, and deep, slow rivers moving through the darkness for centuries. The ocean is a restless mind. It remembers storms for years. The air that fills your lungs is the same air that moves mountains, feeds storms, and whispers to the stars. Earth doesn't rest because life depends on motion. Its breath never falters. Its winds never cease. Its clouds never truly sleep. And in that ceaseless movement, there is a kind of peace. A peace not found in stillness, but in the gentle, endless act of breathing. So breathe with it now. Inhale. The world enters you. Exhale. You return to the world. The atmosphere will carry it. Mix it with a billion other breaths, and in that exchange, you'll remain part of the planet's eternal sigh. The quiet, endless breath of Earth. If you listen carefully on a quiet night, you can almost hear it. The slow, endless breathing of the sea. The waves against the shore. The faint rush in a seashell. The distant hiss where water meets rock. These are the sounds of Earth's heartbeat, carried in liquid form. More than 70% of the planet's surface is water. That means most of Earth's dreams happen beneath the waves. The ocean doesn't sleep, it turns. It shifts heat, carries light, dissolves air, and hides whole worlds beneath its rippling skin. From the surface, it looks calm, a blue mirror reflecting clouds. But beneath that surface, there's motion on every scale. Currents stretching across oceans, eddies spinning like whirlpools of thought, and deep, slow rivers moving through the darkness for centuries. The ocean is a restless mind. It remembers storms for years. It stores sunlight from summers long gone and releases it gently in the winter to keep the planet from freezing. Its tides rise and fall to the rhythm of the moon, a conversation so old that even the stars might have forgotten when it began. Every drop of seawater is alive with movement. Microscopic plankton drift like dust in a sunbeam. Whole forests of kelp sway in slow unison, their leaves bending to the pull of invisible waves. Whales migrate through these highways of sound, singing to each other across thousands of miles. It's strange to think that the same body of water that laps at your feet is touching every coastline on Earth. That somewhere, the wave breaking near a child in Japan is connected to the tide washing shells onto a beach in Africa. There are no walls in the ocean. It is one continuous dream. The sea moves heat more efficiently than the atmosphere. It absorbs sunlight in the tropics and releases it near the poles. Without that slow transfer, climates would collapse, ice would creep farther south, and the temperate world we know would fade. The ocean, in its endless restlessness, is what keeps Earth livable. Even the stillness of the deep is deceptive. It absorbs sunlight in the tropics and releases it near the poles. Without that slow transfer, climates would collapse, ice would creep farther south, and the temperate world we know would fade. The ocean, in its endless restlessness, is what keeps Earth livable. Even the stillness of the deep is deceptive. It's as if the ocean has its own circulatory system, arteries of current, veins of tide, and capillaries of tiny movements that stir every grain of sand. Scientists call this the global conveyor belt. It takes nearly 1,000 years for a single molecule of water to travel from the surface of the Pacific, sink into the abyss, drift through the Atlantic, and rise again near Antarctica. The ocean, like the Earth itself, breathes on geological time. Sometimes, when the surface is rough and violent, it's easy to see the sea as wild, untamed. But chaos, here, is balance. A storm disperses energy the way laughter relieves tension. Each wave that crashes carries heat, carbon, and life, mixing the upper ocean, keeping it fresh and oxygenated. Without those tempests, the sea would stagnate, the surface would suffocate. Even the color of the ocean tells a story. The blue we see isn't just reflection, it's depth. When thunder rolls, you're hearing its heartbeat echo through the air. When rain falls, you're feeling its sigh. Have you ever stood outside before a storm? That moment when everything seems to hold its breath? The air grows heavy, the light turns strange, and for a few seconds the world feels suspended. That's not stillness. That's anticipation, the inhale before the exhale, the calm before the wind begins again. The atmosphere connects every place to every other. Our ancestors timed their rituals, their journeys, their sleep, to the breath of the sea. In many languages, the word for life and for water are almost the same. Some nights, the ocean glows. Tiny plankton release light when they're disturbed, turning the waves electric blue. It's called bioluminescence, but it feels like magic, as if the planet is blinking slowly, showing us that even in the dark, it's awake. The ocean also remembers. It holds traces of our past, salt from ancient tears, ashes from volcanoes, dust from deserts carried by the wind. When rain falls on land and flows to the sea, it brings stories, minerals, pollen, fragments of stone. The sea gathers them all, weaving them into its long, rhythmic memory. Every time you stand by the shore, you are standing at the edge of that memory. Each wave that touches your feet has been traveling for years, meeting other waves, crossing the world to find you. Miles below, in total darkness, currents creep like sleepwalkers, carrying nutrients from the surface down into the abyss and bringing minerals up again through hydrothermal vents, those underwater chimneys that glow with heat and life. Around them, strange creatures thrive. Tube worms, blind shrimp, and fish that shimmer like ghosts. No sunlight reaches them, but the planet's internal warmth feeds them instead. Forests inhale our carbon. We inhale their gift of air. Each breath is an exchange, a quiet conversation that never ends. If you could hear the sound of this movement, it would be a vast, low hum, air brushing against mountains, oceans whispering to clouds, lightning cracking open oxygen molecules to make new compounds. Even the silence of space can't quiet that song. The planet's breath reaches beyond its surface, trailing out as thin wisps that merge with the solar wind. Water swallows red light, keeps only the cool tones, and what's left is a calm illusion of serenity. But beneath that blue, there's constant conversation, sound waves bouncing, pressure shifting, life murmuring in frequencies we can't hear. When the moon rises, it pulls at the water. You can see it in the tide, but you can also feel it in your body. We, too, are mostly water, and something ancient in us responds to that lunar rhythm. If you could look beneath your feet, not just a few meters of soil or stone, but all the way down, you would find fire, not the kind that dances on a candle or burns in a hearth, but a deep, molten glow that has been burning since the earth was born. The surface may cool, the oceans may sigh, the winds may wander, but at the planet's heart, there is no rest. There is only heat, a pulse of energy that has never stopped. When the earth first formed, billions of years ago, it was a sphere of chaos, rock, melting, colliding, gravity, pulling fragments together until friction turned them into flame. That ancient heat still lingers. It hums beneath us, trapped in layers of stone, fueled by radioactive elements decaying in silence. That decay, uranium, thorium, potassium, isn't destruction, it's persistence. Each atom splitting, releasing warmth, keeping the planet alive. This is the hidden furnace, the quiet engine of mountains, volcanoes, and continents. Without it, Earth would be cold and still. A fossil planet like the moon, silent, airless, asleep forever. Instead, this buried fire keeps the crust in motion, driving tectonic plates, shaping fallays, recycling the minerals that make life possible. If you could travel downward past the crust, through the mantle where rock flows like slow honey, you'd reach the outer core, a sea of liquid metal swirling around a solid inner heart. It moves constantly, iron and nickel, churning in enormous, circular tides. That movement generates the magnetic field that shields our world. It's invisible, yet without it, sunlight would strip our atmosphere, cosmic radiation would wash across our skin, and oceans would evaporate into the dark. Miles below, in total darkness, currents creep like sleepwalkers, carrying nutrients from the surface down into the abyss and bringing minerals up again through hydrothermal vents, those underwater chimneys that glow with heat and life. Around them, strange creatures thrive, tube worms, blind shrimp, and fish that shimmer like ghosts. No sunlight reaches them, but the planet's internal warmth feeds them instead. Even the ocean floors shift. Every few centimeters each year, entire continents glide like giant ships, colliding, drifting apart, reforming new worlds. The Atlantic Ocean grows a few inches wider each year, so subtle, so constant, that no one notices but the planet itself. Somewhere beneath Iceland, magma is rising, splitting a seam between two great plates. It's like the Earth stretching in its sleep, if, of course, it ever slept at all. This unseen magnetism is a kind of heartbeat. You don't hear it, but you live inside it. It protects every breath you take, every flicker of light that reaches your eyes. Scientists once believed Earth's core was still. Now they know it spins, sometimes faster than the surface, sometimes slower, as if it keeps its own secret rhythm. Each turn of that inner sphere powers the field around us, a vast, unseen shell of safety. The ocean never sleeps, and yet it never hurries. It moves with infinite patience, carrying the dreams of the world from one shore to another. And as you drift into sleep, remember that somewhere, beneath a blanket of stars, The sea is whispering against the sand. Soft, steady, eternal, singing the same lullaby it has sung. Since the world was new, you can bathe in them and feel time slow down, as if you're soaking in the breath of the world itself. Somewhere, right now, deep under the ocean, volcanic vents are releasing superheated water. The pressure is immense, the temperature unbearable, and yet life thrives there. Microbes feed on the minerals, turning heat into energy. They are proof that even where the sun cannot reach, the Earth's internal fire is enough to sustain life. Perhaps that's why the planet never sleeps. It cannot. To sleep would be to let that fire fade, and if it faded, everything would fall silent. Even in the oldest myths, fire is sacred. Prometheus stealing it from the gods, volcano spirits guarding it beneath the mountains, sacred flames kept burning in temples for generations. Somehow, humans have always sensed that fire is more than heat. It's continuity. It's the sign that the universe still remembers us. Now, imagine lying in your bed tonight. The air feels cool, the world quiet, but miles below, magma flows through unseen chambers, pushing, stretching, reshaping continents grain by grain. Each heartbeat you feel is echoed by a slower, deeper one beneath you. A rhythm too vast to hear, too ancient to measure. If you could place your hand on the ground and wait for 1,000 years, you might feel it move, just slightly, rising, shifting, renewing itself. That motion is warmth turned into motion, and motion turned into balance. Even the stones remember this fire. Every pebble once glowed red. Every mountain began as liquid. The Earth's surface cools, cracks, grows forests, but beneath it all, the ember still burns. When you light a candle, the flame you see is a descendant of that same ancient fire, a miniature echo of the planet's core. It vibrates in the bones, a low growl that seems older than language. That sound is the heartbeat of creation, the Earth reminding you that stillness is only an illusion. Even far from volcanoes, that fire still reaches you. It flows upward through cracks in the crust, warming groundwater, creating hot springs that steam like open veins. Those pools, quiet, glowing, fragrant with minerals, are the planet's soft exhalations. We've carried pieces of it with us, learned to tame it, cook with it, forge with it, tell stories beside it. The fire within us mirrors the fire below. Maybe that's why we're drawn to warmth. Campfires, hearths, sunlight. Something deep in our DNA remembers where it came from. The heat of our bodies, the spark in our minds, the glow of life itself, all of it borrowed from that inner flame. Step outside for a moment in your imagination. The sun is gone, the air cool and fragrant. Somewhere nearby, a single leaf trembles. At first, it seems like stillness. But wait, listen longer. The night is never silent. Crickets tune their legs into tiny instruments. Moths drift through beams of moonlight like slow sparks. A frog calls, another answers. Roots draw water through the soil with a sound too low for ears to catch. The forest, even in darkness, is awake. We often think of sleep as the world's curtain call, a time when the day closes its eyes. But for half of life on this planet, night is not a pause. It's the opening act. The rhythm of the forest doesn't stop when the sun sets. It merely changes tempo. When light fades, another orchestra takes the stage, one tuned to the frequencies of dusk. Nocturnal mammals slip from burrows. Owls turn their silent wings into instruments of balance. Bats trace invisible geometry through the air, mapping the world by echoes. Each night, billions of creatures rise and move, feeding, hunting, mating, pollinating. It's not chaos, It's choreography, a slow dance designed by evolution and temperature and moonlight. Plants join in too. Leaves close, flowers turn inward, but inside, chemistry hums on. Stomata the tiny pores on every leaf breathe in the dark, exhaling oxygen, whispering carbon dioxide back into the air. It's the quiet exchange that keeps you alive while you dream. Even trees communicate after dusk. Through the fungal threads that connect their roots, the wood wide web, they share sugars, send warnings, and balance nutrients. While the forest sleeps, its network never rests. It's a system older than words, a conversation carried in molecules. Somewhere above, fireflies drift between branches, each flash a pulse of code. I'm here, I'm alive. Their light is chemical love, poetry, burning for less than a second, repeated endlessly, a reminder that beauty doesn't need the sun to shine. Humans once feared this world of night. We built fires to push it back, to carve islands of light in the dark ocean of the unknown. But the forest has always known that darkness is not danger, it's renewal. Under the cover of night, moisture rises, seeds germinate, dew forms delicate threads of water, glinting like tiny stars. The earth uses darkness to heal itself. In the Amazon, the air thickens after sunset. Frogs announce the humidity, and the leaves begin to drink from the sky. In boreal forests, lichens absorb starlight's faint warmth. In deserts, cacti open their pores only when the moon is high, to save the precious water daylight would steal. Everywhere, adaptation hums quietly in the dark, and in that hush, predators move with reverence. A fox steps softly, its paws trained not to disturb even a fallen leaf. A barn owl glides without a sound, its feathers engineered by evolution to silence the wind itself. The owl doesn't just hunt, it listens. It feels the heartbeat of mice beneath snow, the rustle of wings hidden in grass. In the owl's stillness lies the essence of the night, awareness without noise. Even oceans have their nocturnal bloom. At dusk, plankton rise toward the surface in the largest migration on Earth. Billions of tiny bodies moving upward through darkness to feed. When dawn comes, they sink again. No one sees them, yet they do this every night. The sea, like the forest, keeps its own watch. Why does the planet favor such sleeplessness? Because life depends on rotation, not rest. Day and night share the same purpose: to divide energy into cycles that feed one another. One side of the earth gathers sunlight. The other processes what that light made possible. When we sleep, the night world metabolizes our day. Think of the forest floor. Fallen leaves decompose quietly, fungi breaking them into soil. That decay is the foundation of every sunrise. Without it, nutrients would vanish and life would starve. Death, rest, decay. They are not endings here. They are the breath between heartbeats. If you stand in a forest at midnight and let your heartbeat slow until you match its rhythm, you might sense something vast yet familiar. A pulse not your own. The same pulse that shakes the crust, moves the tides, stirs the wind. It flows through everything living. It's the reason the earth never truly sleeps. Some cultures still honor this rhythm. In Japan, there's Shinrin-yoku forest bathing, a practice of walking slowly among trees, listening, breathing, letting the forest's calm reset the mind. It's not magic, it's biology. When you inhale the air of pines and soil, you breathe in compounds that lower stress, steady your heart, and remind your body that it is not separate from nature. The forest shares its chemistry with you, and in return, you share your breath with it. So even as you lie in your bed, walls around you, city lights outside, remember that the night world is moving. Plants turning toward faint light, insects writing invisible paths through air, owls gliding between shadows. The darkness you see through your window is not emptiness, it's fullness. A million quiet lives unfolding at once. Earth doesn't stop because we do. It keeps watch for us, so that when we wake, the morning will still exist. You can bathe in them and feel time slow down, as if you're soaking in the breath of the world itself. Somewhere, right now, deep under the ocean, volcanic vents are releasing superheated water. The pressure is immense, the temperature unbearable, and yet life thrives there. Microbes feed on the minerals, turning heat into energy. They are proof that even where the sun cannot reach, the Earth's internal fire is enough to sustain life. Perhaps that's why the planet never sleeps. From above, in the quiet of orbit, cities look like constellations, clusters of golden light scattered across the skin of the planet. At night, Earth glows with them, the outlines of continents traced not by rivers or forests, but by the pulse of electricity, the restless shimmer of human wakefulness. It's easy to think of cities as something apart from nature, but they are not. They are part of the same rhythm, an extension of Earth's nervous system, flickering where once there were fires, beating where the ground once burned with volcanic glow. While forests whisper and oceans breathe, we hum. Engines, wires, voices, screens, our kind of photosynthesis, fueled by ideas instead of sunlight. Even as the planet turns away from the sun, we keep our own miniature stars alive. Somewhere, it's 3 a.m. and a bakery is opening. Somewhere else, a hospital hallway glows pale blue under fluorescent light. A fisherman pulls his net before dawn. A poet finishes a line. A child in another time zone wakes from a dream. The Earth doesn't sleep, and neither, entirely, do we. We call it the night shift, but that phrase is misleading. It's not the night that shifts, it's us. We move within its quiet hours, tending fires of our own making, continuing the planet's unbroken hum. Think of the traffic lights blinking on an empty road, the rhythmic breathing of a subway vent, the deep vibration of cargo ships moving through dark water. All of it adds up to a human heartbeat, superimposed on the planet's older pulse. A second rhythm woven into the first. The first fires humans ever made were extensions of sunlight, small pieces of the day we refused to surrender to darkness. In caves, in huts, in cities now made of glass and steel, that defiance continues. Streetlights, screens, neon signs, they are not just illumination. They are our species, remembering how to be stars. And yet, for all our glow, we remain fragile. Every light we make runs on borrowed energy. Every hum of the city echoes the deeper hum of geology, the power that rises from the planet's molten core and stored sunlight. We did not invent energy. We redirected it. We didn't create the sleeplessness of Earth. We joined it. Inside a city at night, the air vibrates with quiet labor. Electricity moves through cables, like blood. Water travels through pipes. Steam curls from vents like sighs. It's easy to forget that these systems mimic natural ones. Our plumbing is the echo of rivers. Our power grids mirror lightning. Our networks copy the routes of forests and the paths of ants. Even in sleep, humanity hums. Satellites orbit overhead, relaying messages. Servers whisper in climate-controlled rooms, storing dreams in data. The planet carries our noise like it once carried the calls of whales. We've filled the atmosphere not just with gases, but with signals, waves of radio, light, and thought circling the globe, a kind of artificial aurora. There's beauty in that. We have become part of Earth's voice, a new frequency in its endless song. When you listen to the low rumble of a distant city, you're hearing evolution continue by other means. Life adapting, expanding, changing form. But cities, too, have their circadian rhythm. They pulse. Rush hour rises like a tide, then ebbs into night. Windows go dark one by one, until only a few towers remain lit, sentinels watching while the rest of us dream. If you stand on a rooftop after midnight, you can feel it, the city breathing, the hum of transformers, the whisper of air vents, the occasional murmur of tires on wet pavement. It's not silence, it's heartbeat. And beneath all that concrete, the earth still moves. Subtle tectonic sighs, heat rising through the ground. Even when we forget, we're built upon a living body. Perhaps that's why we feel comforted by the noise of cities at night. The sound of distant traffic is like the ocean's tide, predictable, lulling. It tells us the world is still turning, that someone somewhere is awake, carrying the torch of consciousness forward. There's a strange symmetry in it. As forests breathe and tides move, as magma churns and winds circle the globe, human beings add their own layer of wakefulness, the planet's sleeplessness reflected in our own. Sometimes that rhythm is too loud. Light pollution hides the stars. Engines blur the silence of the night. But even then, the intention remains the same. We stay awake because the world does. We mirror its endurance, its refusal to stop. Somewhere in every city, there's a moment near dawn, when the streetlights fade but the sky hasn't yet turned blue. That's when the two rhythms overlap perfectly, the mechanical and the natural, the heartbeat of machines blending with the first bird's song. For a few minutes, the whole planet feels synchronized. You can feel it too, even from your bed. The hum of distant engines, the faint electricity in the walls, the pulse of your own body, keeping time with the world outside. We are part of Earth's insomnia, and it, perhaps, is part of ours. So as you lie here listening, remember, the sleepless city is not the opposite of nature. It's an extension of it, an echo of the same unstoppable motion. The Earth never sleeps, and through us, it dreams in light. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that time itself has slowed. Not seconds, not minutes, but millennia stretching into silence. In that stillness, something becomes clear. The earth has a pulse, and it beats in ages. Every tide, every rotation, every tremor is part of that rhythm. To us, it feels constant, but to the planet, it's a slow song. So slow that even mountains are just heartbeats frozen mid-motion. The ancients sensed this long before clocks. They read it in the tides, the shifting of stars, the slow drift of shadows on stone. They built calendars not to control time, but to listen to it. Because time, on Earth, isn't something that passes. It breathes. The moon pulls the oceans the way the heart pulls blood, each wave a reminder of gravity's invisible hand. The tide comes in, the tide goes out, and the planet exhales through every coastline. That pull is older than life itself. Before the first fish swam, before the first tree rooted, the earth and moon were already dancing, partners locked in an eternal waltz. It's hard to feel that slowness in a human life. Our clocks measure hours, but the earth measures patience. The continents move only a few centimeters each year, yet given enough time, they can shatter mountains, build oceans, and erase whole histories. To the earth, a century is the blink of an eye. Civilizations rise and fall like waves on a cosmic shore. And still, the planet keeps time with precision. The tilt of its axis controls the seasons. Its orbit defines the year. Even the magnetic poles drift in slow spirals, as if tracing invisible circles across the ages. Everything we call stability is really balance in motion. A rhythm so vast, we only ever catch one note of it. Some scientists say the planet rings after earthquakes. They mean it literally. When the crust shakes, the entire Earth vibrates like a bell. It hums for hours, sometimes for days, waves of resonance traveling through stone and water. If you could translate those vibrations into sound, you'd hear a tone lower than any instrument can play. The voice of the world, deep and patient, whispering to itself. And yet, that whisper never fades. Between earthquakes, the planet continues to resonate quietly, a constant murmur that scientists call microseisms, generated by the clash of waves, the movement of wind, the ceaseless motion of weather. Even in calm, Earth hums its song of persistence. It's not just rock and water that hold memory. Ice remembers too. Glaciers record the breath of ancient air, each layer a frozen page of history. When scientists drill into ice cores, they're listening to the planet's diary, stories of fire and frost, of carbon and silence, of ages when the world almost stopped and then began again. Deep in those layers lies proof of the Earth's sleeplessness, its ability to survive its own extremes. Volcanoes erupted, continents cracked, oceans boiled, and still the planet kept going, learning to balance itself anew. Every disaster is a pulse, every recovery a heartbeat returning. The same pulse runs through you. Your heart beats roughly once per second. The Earth's heart beats once every day, in tides and rotations. The moon's pulse takes a month, the sun's a year. Each is part of a larger harmony. Nestelrhythms, smaller cycles within greater ones, a cosmic metronome that never stops. When we speak of deep time, it's easy to imagine distance, something far away from human touch. But deep time is right beneath your skin. The calcium in your bones was once coral. The iron in your blood came from ancient stars. Every breath you take contains atoms older than the Sunday. You are made of the planet's memory, and through you, it keeps remembering. Sometimes, on quiet nights, you can almost feel that memory stirring. It happens in small moments, when the wind changes direction, when the tide surprises you, when thunder rolls across the horizon, and you feel it more than hear it. That's the ancient pulse, reminding you that even if the world seems still, nothing truly rests. There is comfort in that idea. The same rhythm that moves tectonic plates also moves blood through your veins. Think of the traffic lights blinking on an empty road, the rhythmic breathing of a subway vent, the deep vibration of cargo ships moving through dark water. All of it adds up to a human heartbeat superimposed on the planet's older pulse. A second rhythm woven into the first. The first fires humans ever made were extensions of sunlight, small pieces of the day we refuse to surrender to darkness. In caves, in huts, in cities now made of glass and steel, that defiance continues. If you could live long enough, you would see mountains melt into sand, rivers carve new paths, and islands emerge where there was once only sea. You would see the planet blink, stretch, and breathe again. You would realize that every sunrise is just another beat of the same ancient heart. Tonight, while you breathe slowly, know that you're keeping time with everything around you, with the tides, the wind, the turning of the earth itself. Your breath and its rotation are synchronized more perfectly than any clock could measure. So when you feel restless, when sleep hesitates at the edge of your thoughts, remember, you live on a world that never sleeps, but always dreams. Its dream is time. Its pulse is eternity. And you, here and now, are part of its rhythm, a single heartbeat in an endless song. At first glance, stillness seems like the opposite of life. A pond without ripples, a desert without wind, a plain of ice under a silent moon. These are the moments we call quiet. But stillness, on Earth, is never absolute. It is only the surface of a deeper motion, a pause between breaths, a reflection between heartbeats. Take a lake on a windless morning. Its mirror-smooth face looks frozen in time. You can see the sky perfectly clouds, birds, even the fading moon. It feels like the world is holding its breath. Yet beneath that calm sheet of water, 1,000 things are moving. Tiny currents swirl near the bottom. Fish trace invisible trails through silt. Plants release bubbles of oxygen that drift upward, and sunlight stirs the molecules themselves. The stillness is a disguise, a thin layer of silence floating atop a world in constant motion. Even in that calm, the lake is breathing. Every few hours, warm and cold layers exchange places, a process called turnover. Nutrients rise from the depths. Oxygen sinks from the surface. Life rearranges itself without a sound. If you could watch it in time-lapse, the lake would shimmer like a living lung. Deserts, too, seem silent. We imagine them as emptier pores in the story of the earth. But the truth is quieter and far more alive. The sand moves. Each grain, carried by the faintest breeze, joins a slow, unending migration. Dunes crawl across the landscape at a pace you can't see, shifting like the ocean frozen in amber. Beneath that surface, beetles burrow, roots search for pockets of moisture, and deep underground, aquifers flow through ancient stone. The desert isn't dead. It's simply patient. Its life moves to the rhythm of heat and shadow, slower than our eyes can follow, but no less alive. Even glaciers, those massive, silent rivers of ice, creep forward inch by inch, grinding mountains into valleys, writing their story across the planet's face. You can't hear them move, but their motion shapes entire continents. To the Earth, glaciers are not frozen moments. They are slow dreams, sculpting the world in silence. Stillness is only relative. What looks calm at one scale is storm at another. The air around you, for example, is never truly still. Even when you feel no wind, billions of molecules are colliding, bouncing, vibrating, transferring energy at the speed of sound. Still, air is an illusion born of difference, the balance between countless invisible movements. The same is true for mountains. They appear eternal, unmoving, but they too rise and fall in imperceptible waves. Erosion softens their edges, gravity pulls them down, and tectonic forces lift them up again. What we see as permanence is only motion stretched across millions of years. In this way, stillness becomes part of Earth's rhythm. The inhale between exhale, the shadow between flashes of lightning. It's not the absence of life, it's the moment life gathers itself. Even when the forest seems asleep, sap still flows through its veins. Even when the ocean looks calm, currents still move far below. Perhaps that's why we find peace in quiet landscapes. They remind us that motion doesn't have to be loud, that life doesn't always rush, that the world can move without announcing itself. When you stand beside still water and watch your reflection, you're seeing this truth mirrored back at you. The surface may appear smooth, but your image trembles with every unseen ripple, as if the planet is breathing beneath you. It is. It always is. Even sound itself never truly stops. What we call silence is only sound too soft for our ears. Vibrations that fade into frequencies below our notice. The earth hums quietly all the time. The roll of faraway waves, the sigh of wind over hills, the tiny cracking of cooling rocks in the night. It's a lullaby sung too low to hear, but it's there, surrounding you. Stillness, then, is not rest, it's resonance. It's the alignment of movements so balanced that they cancel each other out, like two waves meeting perfectly crest to trough. When that happens, the surface seems still. but the energy remains, humming beneath the quiet. In human life, we chase this same kind of stillness. Meditation, deep breath, a quiet room. We call it peace, but biologically, it's the same principle. Our hearts don't stop when we rest. They find equilibrium. Our body don't freeze. They harmonize. We become, for a while, like the earth, calm on the outside, alive within. There is a place in Antarctica where scientists have recorded the lowest winds on the planet, a vast plateau of white silence. But even there, the ice is slowly shifting. Beneath the surface, pressure builds, crevasses widen molecule by molecule. The world does not know how to stop. It only knows how to change slowly. And maybe that's what peace really is. Not the end of motion, but the gentlest form of it. A kind of motion so soft that it feels like quiet. So when you sit beside a lake, or gaze at snow falling straight down, or watch a candle flame barely move, you're witnessing the most delicate kind of movement there is. The kind that doesn't demand attention, that doesn't shout or crash, but simply continues, quietly, perfectly balanced. The planet never stops turning. But sometimes, it lets you feel what the pause between rotations might sound like. Not true stillness, but something close enough to rest within. If you close your eyes now, listen to that silence around you. It isn't empty. It's full of small motions, soft vibrations, and the quiet heartbeat of a planet pretending, for just a moment, to sleep. And while it does, you can too. Creation is not a single moment. It's a rhythm, a pulse that beats through stone and storm, through fire and silence. The earth is not the product of creation. It is creation, still unfolding, still reshaping itself, still breathing new forms into being. Every day, somewhere, the planet begins again. A volcano erupts on a remote island, and what seems like destruction is actually birth. New land, new minerals, new possibilities for life to take root. Elsewhere, a glacier retreats, and in the bare valley it leaves behind. Moss begins to spread, like thought returning to a waking mind. Even decay is part of this cycle. A fallen tree becomes a bridge for fungi, a home for insects, a nursery for seedlings that will one day rise into its place. Death and creation are not opposites here. They are consecutive notes in the same endless song. The earth has no waste. Every ending folds back into beginning. Ash becomes soil. Soil becomes forest. Forest becomes carbon. And carbon becomes breath. The loop never breaks. To watch this, you only have to slow down. Observe how a burnt landscape greens again after rain. How coral reefs, once bleached by heat, find new growth in cooler currents. How even a barren desert blooms once a decade. When rare clouds gather and spill just enough water, each act of renewal is quiet, but together they form the heartbeat of a planet that refuses to die. When scientists study Earth's past, they find evidence of catastrophe. Meteor impacts, supervolcanoes, mass extinctions that erased almost all life. And yet, life always returned. Not the same as before, but changed, refined, stronger in its adaptability. This is how the planet dreams, through chaos and recovery, through destruction and reinvention. If you look closely, you'll see that same pattern everywhere. The ocean erodes cliffs, but the sand it creates builds beaches. Rivers flood, but the silt they leave behind becomes fertile ground. Fire consumes a forest, but its heat opens the pine cones that need flame to release their seeds. It's strange how easily we label things disaster, but the earth doesn't see tragedy. It sees transformation. A landslide is movement. A storm is balance, restoring itself. Even extinction is part of evolution's long breath. one species falling silent so that another may begin its song. This doesn't make loss less real, only more meaningful, because in the logic of a living planet, nothing is ever truly lost. Think of the rocks beneath your feet. They were once liquid, then mountain, then dust, then mountain again. Even the hardest stone remembers being fire. And perhaps that's the secret of the Earth's sleeplessness. It never lets go of what it was. It keeps rewriting it. At the edges of continents, new crust forms where old crust sinks. The seafloor spreads like ink across a page, writing new geography every second. Volcanoes rise, fall, and rise again, each one a punctuation mark in the story of renewal. The cycle continues in silence. But if you were to speed up time, if you could watch the last 100 million years in a minute, you'd see continents drift like petals on water, mountains rise and collapse like waves, the entire planet breathing in geological rhythm. Even the atmosphere participates in this act of constant remaking. Volcanoes release carbon, oceans absorb it, plants trap it, and when those plants die, their remains become fuel for the next epoch. Nothing ends. It only changes hands. Humans, too, are part of that cycle. Our bodies are temporary shapes the earth takes on for a while. We eat from it, breathe from it, and when our time is over, we return to it. The minerals in your bones will one day become part of a mountain. The water in your blood will fall again as rain. You are not separate from the process. You are one of its forms. Creation, then, is not something that happened once, at the beginning. It is happening right now, under your feet, inside your lungs, within every leaf and tide and spark of lightning. The world is being made again in every moment, and you are inside that moment. It's comforting to realize that the planet doesn't fear breaking. It understands that to break is to open, to make room for something new. Even when earthquakes split the ground, or wildfires erase entire valleys, the Earth's response is always the same: to begin again. Sometimes beginning looks like ruin. Sometimes it looks like peace. But underneath it all is one truth: nothing here is ever finished. When you stand on the shore and watch a wave crash, you are witnessing billions of molecules returning to motion, each one following a pattern that has never once repeated the same way twice. No two waves are identical, and yet each one belongs to the same ocean. That's creation. Endless, unique, familiar. The Earth remakes itself not out of choice, but because motion is its nature. It cannot stop. It can only transform. And as you breathe now, you're participating in that same cycle. Each inhale brings in molecules once exhaled by ancient forests. Each exhale releases them to feed something else. Creation and decay, life and rest, movement and stillness, all blending into one eternal rhythm. If you listen closely, you might feel it, the quiet sense that even as the night deepens, somewhere beneath you the world is beginning again. You may be drifting towards sleep, but the Earth is already dreaming its next shape. Volcanoes warming, seeds stirring, stars reflecting in newborn rivers. Nothing has truly ended. Everything, everywhere, is being remade. Every living thing listens, not with ears necessarily, but with presence, with cells, with roots, with instincts shaped by millions of years of tuning to the rhythm of the world. Long before we built seismographs or weather stations, life itself was the planet's first listener. You can feel it too, if you pay attention. A faint tremor before thunder, the still air that arrives seconds before rain, the way birds go silent before an earthquake. Life doesn't wait for proof. It senses, it remembers, it responds. Deep underground, roots stretch and twist towards soundless cues. They grow faster on the side where vibrations are strongest, as though they can hear the heartbeat of water beneath the soil. Scientists have measured this. Plants really do respond to sound, not the kind that fills a room with melody, but the kind that moves through matter like a whisper of gravity. A seed buried in darkness can hear water trickling nearby and send its first tender root toward the source. In the forests, trees speak through the ground. Their roots intertwine with fungal threads, a living web of signal and sustenance. When drought approaches, one tree sends warning chemicals through the network. Others adjust their growth, their leaves, their hunger for light. It's not language as we know it. No words, no syntax. But it carries meaning just the same. The forest, in its own slow tempo, is listening to itself. Animals, too, hear the earth differently. Elephants communicate with infrasound, vibrations too deep for human ears, rolling across the savannah for miles. When one herd rumbles, another feels it through the soles of their feet, long before the sound reaches the air. They can detect storms coming, earthquakes beginning, even the footfalls of other herds beyond the horizon. Their bones are tuned to the planet's voice. Whales do something similar. They sing across entire oceans, their songs bending and echoing through layers of water. Some frequencies can travel thousands of miles. A blue whale off the coast of Chile can call to another near the edge of Australia, their voices weaving through the deep currents like threads of light. The ocean listens to itself through them. Even creatures too small for our eyes respond to the Earth's invisible cues. Bacteria sense magnetic fields and align their movement to them. Migrating birds use the same field to navigate with astonishing precision, a compass built directly into their blood and bones. They feel north not as a direction, but as an instinct. They are pulled by the planet's silent geometry. At the microscopic level, life reacts to rhythms too small for perception. Corals release their eggs in perfect synchrony once a year, timed by the moon's light and the faint pull of its gravity. Every reef, across hundreds of miles, spawning in the same hour, as if obeying an ancient call written into the ocean itself. No signal travels that far except the one that never stops, the steady heartbeat of Earth and Moon together. It makes you wonder, what do we not hear? Because our lives move too quickly. The slow tilt of the seasons, the deep rumble of continents. Perhaps the planet speaks all the time, and we've simply forgotten how to listen. Yet traces of that sensitivity remain in us. Our inner ears evolved from the balance organs of ancient fish. Our sense of rhythm mirrors the oscillations of the tides. Even our sleep cycles follow the rotation of the earth. 24 hours of waking and rest, entrained by light, guided by gravity. We're not separate from the song. We're one of its verses. When an earthquake happens, most of us only feel the sharp jolt. But animals often move minutes before. Dogs whimper. Birds take flight. Fish vanish from shallows. They feel the first low frequencies that humans cannot detect. Some scientists think it's static electricity or pressure. Others think it's something deeper, a kind of resonance, a sense of belonging so complete that they cannot help but notice when the planet's heartbeat stutters. There's a species of frog in Central America that sings only after heavy rain. Its timing is precise, not just because of moisture, but because of vibration. The frogs sense the impact of raindrops through the ground and respond collectively, a chorus rising from the mud as if the earth itself has begun to hum. Their voices fill the forest for hours, then fade as quietly as they began. Rain, rhythm, response, an endless loop. To listen, the planet doesn't need ears. It listens through structure, through how waves move, how air expands, how roots grow, how living things align to unseen patterns. Every ecosystem is a symphony of adjustment. The desert waits for clouds. The mountain holds snow until spring. The tundra listens for sunlight. Even the coral polyp, barely more than a soft mouth, feels the sea temperature shift and changes color in reply. Humans once felt this too. Long before weather apps and forecasts, our ancestors read the tremors of the ground, the scent of air, the silence of birds before rain. They knew when the tide would rise, not by clock, but by pulse. They lived in rhythm with what the earth whispered. Some part of that remains in us. When thunder rolls, our hearts beat faster. When waves crash, our breathing synchronizes. When wind howls, we shiver not just from cold, but from recognition. Something ancient in us responds to the familiar vibration. It says, "You are part of this." Even now, while you lie still, your body is full of these tiny listeners. Hair cells in your inner ear pick up vibrations smaller than a molecule's width. Your skin feels pressure changes before your mind registers them. Your heartbeat adjusts subtly with the planet's magnetic field, a resonance scientists have measured, a proof of quiet connection. It's humbling to think that every life form, from bacteria to blue whales, is an instrument tuned to the same orchestra. The earth never stops playing, and everything that lives upon it moves, sways, breathes in time. So tonight, as you listen to the faint hum around you, the distant wind, the steady pulse in your chest, remember that you're not hearing alone. The forests, the oceans, the roots, and the wings are listening too. And through all that listening, the planet knows itself. Every vibration answered, every heartbeat echoed. It's not noise, it's communion. You are one listener among billions, but together you form the hearing of the world. Every action leaves a trace. Every sound, every breath, every movement ripples outward. The planet feels all of it, not as a person would feel, but as a vast and patient body registering touch, the way an ocean notices even the smallest stone dropped into it. For a long time, we believed that only we were aware, that the mountains stood still, and the winds moved blindly, and that we alone gave meaning to motion. But as science deepened its gaze, it began to reveal something quieter, something humbling, that the earth, in its own slow way, responds. When billions of feet walk the same paths, the soil compresses, its texture changes, seeds fall differently, water drains in new directions, cities rise, and the planet adjusts its balance ever so slightly, redistributing weight, altering gravity's pull by fractions too small for us to sense. Even the rotation of the Earth shifts by milliseconds as glaciers melt and oceans move to fill the space they left behind. We don't just live on this planet, we move through it, and it moves with us. You can hear it in the hum of machines that never stop. Satellites listen from orbit, detecting the faint vibration of human industry. Trains, turbines, factories, all blending into a new planetary tone. Scientists have measured it, a subtle increase in the Earth's background resonance since the rise of civilization. Our heartbeat added to the world's. Even the air feels us. Every breath we exhale adds warmth. Carbon, moisture, minute changes that accumulate like whispers into a choir. The sky thickens slightly with our presence, its chemistry rewritten each century, its rhythm altered by the breath of billions. It is not anger the earth shows us in storms, nor punishment in droughts, but adjustment, response. The same way your skin flushes when fever rises, the planet too seeks equilibrium. If the earth were conscious in any way we could understand, perhaps it would not think or speak, but simply react, a reflex older than thought itself. When forests fall, temperatures change. When oceans warm, clouds rearrange. When ice melts, the sea lifts its weight back toward the sky. Everything we do is answered. not in words, but in physics, the quiet language of balance. But the response is not only material, it's emotional too. If you believe that emotion is simply energy that shapes behavior, when we walk in nature and feel calm, something invisible flows both ways. Our heartbeat slows. The forest's chemistry changes. Trees release more oxygen. Soil bacteria release grounding scents called geosmin. We change, and so does it. A feedback loop of peace. There are places where this reciprocity feels unmistakable. Stand at the edge of a canyon and speak. The earth answers in echo. Whisper into the mouth of a cave. The sound returns softer as though absorbed and respoken by stone. Throw a pebble into a still pond, and the surface answers in perfect circles. Everything responds. The question has always been, are we still listening? The earth has memory too. When forests regrow after centuries, the soil retains traces of the old roots. When coral returns to a dead reef, it builds upon the calcium bones of generations before. Even light remembers. Photons from ancient stars bounce off our oceans, travel back into space, carrying the signature of blue. The universe, through Earth, sees itself reflected. Now, our presence is part of that reflection. Every city light adds a sparkle to the night side of the planet, a constellation of human persistence. From space, astronauts often describe the site as alive, a living map of motion and mind. They say it looks like neurons in a brain, firing across continents, signaling to one another with light. Maybe that's not just a metaphor. Maybe we are part of the planet's awareness, its attempt to look at itself from within. Think about it. A world that has evolved eyes to see itself. Our eyes. A world that has learned to think about its own history. Our thoughts. When you look at the horizon, the earth, through you, becomes aware of its own edge. When you whisper into the wind, it is the planet hearing its own voice through breath. Of course, the planet doesn't decide to feel. It doesn't form opinions or judgments. Its awareness is not cognitive. It's relational. Touch one part, and another responds. We are simply large enough now that the echo of our actions has grown loud enough to hear. And still, there's beauty in that echo. It means we're connected. It means what we do matters, not only morally, but physically. A single tree planted cools its patch of air. A single river cleaned sends clarity downstream for miles. When we restore, the earth restores with us. When we listen, it whispers back. Sometimes I imagine the planet not as fragile, but as empathetic, capable of adjusting to every change with patience, but also capable of teaching through consequence. It is, perhaps, the oldest form of conversation, action, and response. We build, it balances. We burn, it breathes harder. We pause, it begins to heal. Right now, as you listen, that conversation continues. Rain is falling somewhere it hasn't in months. A glacier is melting 1 inch thinner than yesterday. A forest is regrowing on land once scarred by fire. The earth feels each of these gestures, ours and its own. If you could step far enough away to see the whole, you'd notice something almost impossible. Nothing is out of sync. The chaos, the creation, the consequence, all are part of one immense feedback loop, a dialogue between life and matter, heat and breath, cause and response. Perhaps that's what awareness really is. Not self-consciousness, but connection. To be aware is to be touched, to be changed by what you meet. And in that sense, the earth has always been awake. It has always been feeling us back. So tonight, as you lie there breathing, think of it gently. Your inhale, the planet's exhale. Your warmth, its warmth. Your silence, its waiting. You are not simply resting on the earth. You are resting with it. And somewhere, in ways science will someday describe but never exhaust, the planet feels you too. Every morning, before you open your eyes, the sun has already touched the Earth. A single beam, traveling across 93 million miles of darkness, arrives without fail, warm, quiet, ancient. That light is what keeps the planet from ever truly sleeping. The sun is not just illumination, it's memory, energy, and motion. It writes time across the planet's surface, turning night into day, seasons into story. Its rhythm is the oldest heartbeat we know. When sunlight strikes the atmosphere, the air stirs. When it reaches the sea, currents awaken. When it touches soil, roots and seeds respond, as if hearing their name. Every sunrise is a signal, begin again. Even as half the planet rests in darkness, the other half burns softly in light. It means that somewhere, always, it's morning. Birds are rising from branches. Flowers are opening. Children are stepping out into the warmth. There is no global night, only a turning sphere that passes the torch of day from hand to hand. If you could watch from space, you would see the boundary between night and day, a slow-moving curve of light sliding around the globe. Astronomers call it the Terminator line. To poets, it's the breath of dawn. It's the proof that the Earth never sleeps, because somewhere, in every moment, the light is waking someone. That light is older than the planet itself. Each photon that touches your skin was born in the heart of the sun, where hydrogen fuses into helium. It can take 100,000 years for that light to rise through the sun's dense interior, bouncing endlessly before finally escaping into space. Then, in just 8 minutes, it crosses the void and reaches your face. 100,000 years of patience for 8 minutes of grace. When you feel sunlight on your skin, you're feeling the breath of stars, and the Earth, in turn, breathes it back, absorbing, reflecting, storing. The dance between sun and planet is constant and reciprocal, like conversation without words. Half of that light nourishes life. Plants drink it through photosynthesis, turning photons into sugar, light into form, radiation into breath. The other half is reflected, glinting off clouds, snow, oceans, a shimmering signature that tells the universe, I'm awake. Even the darkness depends on light. Without the sun's warmth, the night would not cool. It would freeze forever. Without day, shadows would have no meaning. Light and dark are not enemies. They are partners. They chase and follow, each defining the other. For billions of years, this cycle has written the world's rhythm. Coral reefs feed by moonlight, but grow by sunlight. Trees measure day length to know when to bloom. Animals migrate according to the angle of dawn. Even humans who now live by artificial light still carry the sun in their biology. Our circadian rhythm is tuned to its rise and fall. Our hormones, body temperature, and even emotions move with the light's invisible clock. The Earth itself responds in subtler ways. When sunlight hits the equator, air warms and rises, creating winds that travel around the world. Those winds carry storms, which move water, which feeds rivers, which shapes land. From a single spark of light, a chain of movement spans the planet. The sun's pull also keeps us in orbit, spinning just fast enough to stay balanced, just far enough to avoid burning. It's a fragile harmony. Too close, and the oceans would boil. Too far, and the Earth would sleep forever under ice. Instead, we live in what scientists call the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold. A perfect cradle for endless motion. You could say that light is the planet's nervous system. When the sun rises, signals ripple outward. Plants open, insects stir, predators wake. When it sets, the signals reverse. Cooling, resting, recalibration. But the cycle never stops. As one hemisphere exhales, the other inhales. Together, they create the illusion of day and night. In truth, it's one continuous breath. Even after sunset, the sun's influence lingers. Its warmth remains stored in oceans and stones, leaking slowly back into the air. That's why the night cools gradually, because the earth is still whispering back the light it received. It's like the world remembering a dream as it fades. In ancient cultures, people understood this relationship instinctively. They built monuments to track the sun's path. Stonehenge, the pyramids, the temples of Angkor, not just to worship light, but to mark its rhythm, the steady promise of return. For them, sunrise wasn't just the start of a day. It was a resurrection, proof that the world could die each night and be reborn without fail. Even today, if you wake before dawn, you can feel that same miracle. The first light doesn't just brighten the world. It changes the air. Birds sense it before it arrives. Their songs begin not when the sky is bright, but when the sun is still below the horizon, as if they can hear it approaching. And maybe they can. The earth, after all, is one vast resonating body, and light, though silent, has a rhythm too. When the first beam finally breaks through the clouds, the world exhales. Dew sparkles. Mist rises. Colors return. Even the shadows look awake. And you, standing there, are part of that awakening. You are the surface the sun touches, the reflection it waits for. Your skin, your eyes, your breath, they all belong to the same exchange of energy that began long before life had a name. The earth stays awake because light never stops arriving. Every second, more photons fall upon it, urging it to move, to grow, to glow. And even when the planet turns away, half of it still faces the sun, half of it still dreaming in gold. So as you rest tonight, know that somewhere the light is still shining. It's glancing off oceans, warming the skin of children, glistening on leaves, sliding across clouds like a patient hand. The world you leave behind in darkness is, on the other side, already awake. And when dawn comes for you, you'll feel it again. The quiet certainty of the earth's eternal morning. The soft reminder that nothing here ever truly sleeps. Not while the sun still calls the planet by name. Everything alive is born from a balance between opposites. Heat and cold. Movement and stillness. Chaos and harmony. On Earth, that balance takes the shape of three great forces. Water, air, and fire. They are not enemies. They are partners in an endless dance. A cycle that keeps the planet awake. Every drop, every gust, every flicker of flame is part of the same equation. Energy shifting form. Never vanishing, only transforming. That's what makes the Earth not just a world, but a living system, forever in conversation with itself. The breath of air. It begins with the wind. Invisible, patient, unceasing. The atmosphere moves heat from where it's too much to where it's too little. It carries the ocean's sighs to the mountains and the dust of deserts to the heart of forests. Each breath you take is part of that journey. Air that might have brushed the Himalayas yesterday or circled above the Amazon last week. Wind is more than motion. It's balance in motion. Without it, the world would suffocate. The air above the equator would stagnate in heat, and the poles would sink into eternal frost. Instead, the atmosphere is a circulatory system. High and low pressures trade places, in a graceful pattern that never quite repeats. Like a heartbeat, the planet inhales and exhales every day. Even the calmest air hides currents. Warm air rises, cool air sinks, creating invisible rivers that shape every cloud and storm. These streams carve the sky as surely as water carves stone, and within them, the world finds its rhythm. The memory of water. If air is breath, then water is memory. It moves slower, but it remembers everything. Every molecule of water on this planet has been here since the beginning, flowing through rivers, clouds, and veins for billions of years. The raindrop that falls on your window tonight might once have been part of an ancient sea, or locked in the ice of a vanished glacier. Water ties everything together. It carries minerals from rock to root, nutrients from soil to sea, and life from shore to shore. It holds the planet's temperature steady, absorbing the sun's warmth by day and releasing it by night. The ocean doesn't just move water, it moves time. Currents flow like giant conveyor belts, linking every coastline in a single, continuous loop. They're driven by the sun's heat, the wind's breath, and the gravity of the moon. It's the Earth's pulse, a vast, slow heartbeat that circulates life itself. Even rain is part of the dialogue. Evaporation is an exhale, condensation an inhale. The water that leaves one forest returns as nourishment to another. It's as if the planet speaks in clouds, each one carrying a message from one corner of the world to another. The fire beneath, and beneath it all fire. The oldest and most secret element, deep under mountains and oceans, the planet's heart still burns. Molten rock moves like slow lightning, creating continents, fueling volcanoes, powering the magnetic shield that keeps us safe from solar storms. We rarely think of this hidden fire, but it shapes everything. Without it, there would be no mountains, no new land rising from the sea. It is the pulse behind every earthquake, the warmth beneath every hot spring, the invisible energy that stirs the deep. Even on the surface, the sun's fire continues the cycle, lighting the air, warming the sea, turning water to vapor that returns again as rain. Fire drives the sky, and the sky answers with wind and storm. When a volcano erupts, it looks like destruction, but it's creation in disguise. Ash becomes soil, lava becomes mountain. The fire feeds the land, and the land feeds life. Fire, air, and water. Each one relies on the others to exist. Remove any one, and the circle breaks. The harmony of opposites. At a glance, their relationship looks chaotic. Storms, floods, droughts, eruptions. But within that chaos lies pattern. It's a pattern of compensation, each element adjusting to the others. A conversation that keeps the world alive. When the earth grows too hot, water rises to form clouds that cool it. When air grows still, fire below stirs the winds again. When the ocean absorbs too much carbon, algae bloom, feeding the air with oxygen. Balance restores itself, again and again, though never perfectly, and never for long. That imperfection is what keeps the cycle moving. Stability, if absolute, would mean sleep. Change is what keeps the earth awake. The living bridge. Every living creature participates in this dance. The bird that soars rides the wind's shoulder. The whale that dives follows the paths of water. The human who builds a fire honors the flame beneath the crust. We breathe, drink, and warm ourselves with these same elements, repeating the Earth's cycles in miniature. You exhale carbon, plants inhale it, and through them, the planet breathes with you. Your body is 60% water. You are a river in temporary form. The warmth in your blood is borrowed sunlight. You are literally a reflection of the planet's balance. Fire within, water without, air in every breath. The endless circle exists inside you too. When your heart beats, you echo the tides. When you breathe deeply, you mimic the wind. When you feel warmth spread through you, you mirror the planet's inner fire. The harmony of elements is not metaphorical, it's molecular. Every motion in your body is powered by the same physics that drives waves and weather. The same balance that keeps Earth awake keeps you alive. So tonight, as you rest, imagine those three forces moving gently around you: the air that brushes your face, the water that glimmers in your cells, the heat that radiates quietly beneath your skin. They are not separate. They are one great circle, the engine of a world that has never stopped. And as the night deepens, while oceans turn and clouds drift and volcanoes glow unseen, the balance continues, unbroken, unhurried, infinite. The Earth does not sleep because its elements are always in conversation, always changing places, always returning home to one another. And in that eternal circle, that patient, ceaseless exchange, life endures, light returns, and the planet dreams itself awake. Down in the darkness where sunlight dies, the planet is still thinking, not in words or thoughts, but in currents and chemistry, in the endless swirl of pressure and depth. If the Earth has a subconscious, it lies beneath the waves. The ocean is not just water, it is memory in liquid form, a vast archive of temperature, salt, and sound. Every movement above, from wind to moon to mountain rain, filters down into this quiet abyss. It records everything, storing it as temperature layers, as tiny drifting fossils, as echoes that take centuries to fade. The ocean dreams slowly, its thoughts measured in tides. Where we blink, it breathes. Where we sleep, it turns. And where we forget, it remembers. Beneath the first 100 meters, the zone of sunlight and color, lies the twilight sea, where blue darkens into indigo. Here, creatures begin to glow. They make their own light, like neurons firing in a cosmic brain. Jellyfish pulse with bioluminescence. Squid write spirals of electric blue, and tiny plankton scatter sparks when disturbed, as if reacting to an invisible dream. Farther down, in the true night of the deep, pressure crushes like a god's hand. Every square inch of surface feels tons of weight. Yet life exists calm, unhurried, adapting to darkness with patience beyond comprehension. Some fish have no eyes. They feel light through skin. Others carry lanterns on their heads, like drifting thoughts moving through endless sleep. Down there, noise doesn't travel the way it does in air. Sound moves faster, denser, clearer. Whales use it as language, sending low rumbles that carry across oceans. Each song is a story, each echo a form of memory. Scientists have recorded blue whales calling through thousands of miles, their voices rolling along the thermocline, a thin, stable layer where water temperature changes. It acts like a conduit, a tunnel for the ocean's thoughts. When those sounds reach distant coasts, they blend into others, currents, tremors, the quiet hum of Earth itself. The deep sea is full of vibration, and like a dreaming mind, it responds to rhythm. Life here survives not on sunlight, but on chemistry. Around hydrothermal vents, towering chimneys that rise from the sea floor, water superheated by magma gushes upward, laden with minerals and metals. It looks like smoke, but it is creation. Whole ecosystems grow there, bacteria turning sulfur into sugar, feeding worms, crabs, and fish, in a food web powered not by light, but by fire. This process is called chemosynthesis, and it's one of the great miracles of biology, proof that life can exist. Without the Sunday, some scientists think this is where life began, deep within those vents, in darkness so complete that sight was never needed. If that's true, then the ocean's hidden mind is not just memory, its origin. It's where the first thought of Earth began. Even now, new vents appear and vanish. The ocean reshapes its floor constantly. Mountains rising, plains sinking, rifts opening like slow exhalations. Submarine volcanoes erupt unseen, painting the abyss with molten light that no human eyes will ever witness. Down there, the planet renews itself quietly, the way a sleeper turns over in bed, without waking. Above those depths, another kind of dreaming unfolds. The ocean's surface is restless but purposeful, a skin between worlds, constantly exchanging energy. It absorbs half of all sunlight that reaches it, and half of the carbon we release. It moderates the climate, distributes heat, and carries nutrients across thousands of miles. The great gyres, vast circular currents, move like the turning of thought. They take centuries to complete a single loop, but their memory is perfect. Within those gyres float islands of forgotten things. Driftwood, seeds, plastic, bones. The ocean doesn't judge. It collects. It holds everything until time erases it or transforms it. Even pollution becomes part of its metabolism, folded into sediment, hidden but not gone. The sea digests everything eventually. Sometimes it speaks through waves, through rhythm. Watch a calm shore long enough, and you'll notice the sea never repeats itself. No two waves are identical. Their shapes, like thoughts, form and vanish, leaving traces that overlap. It's randomness with intention, chaos that somehow sustains pattern. Like a dream, it feels both familiar and unknowable. And what of the creatures who call this place home? They are not just residents. They are participants in the ocean's awareness. Sharks navigate using electromagnetic fields, sensing faint signatures of movement from miles away. Turtles cross entire oceans to return to the exact beach where they were born, as if drawn by memory written in salt. Whales migrate through invisible highways of sound, their songs guiding them like maps. Each of them listens to the ocean, and in doing so, keeps it alive. Marine scientists sometimes describe the deep as self-organizing. Temperature, pressure, and salinity create networks that shift and stabilize like synapses. The ocean learns, not in the way brains do, but in the way patterns persist. Storms leave imprints that last decades. Currents adapt around obstacles. The sea remembers its scars and uses them to flow better. It's easy to forget that this memory has scale. A single wave may last seconds, but an oceanic pattern can last 10,000 years. The last ice age still echoes in today's tides. The meltwater that ended it still circulates in deep, cold currents. Every change lingers. Every breath of wind at the surface eventually reaches the abyss. So when we say the earth never sleeps, we also mean this. Its dreams are deep and fluid. The ocean is the part of the planet that never stops imagining. It moves energy and life, the way a dream moves emotion. Wordless, seamless, perpetual. Even now, as you lie still, those depths are in motion. Mountains underwater grow taller. Currents shift slightly east. A whale turns and sings again. No one hears, yet the world vibrates in response. The ocean doesn't need witnesses. Its awareness is inward, like a thought too vast for language. It does not sleep because sleep is unnecessary. When every motion is rest, it is what philosophers once called presence without pause. And so, as you drift into your own sleep, imagine yourself descending. The water around you cools, darkens, hums. Light fades but does not die. It softens into rhythm. You breathe slower. Your heartbeat matches the pulse of distant waves. You are no longer above the sea. You are part of it. In that moment, you and the planet share the same kind of consciousness. Quiet, vast, and ongoing. The same awareness that keeps the tides turning, that stirs the deep and whispers to the moon. The ocean dreams through you, and you through it. And when you wake again, somewhere far below, it will still be moving. Slow, ancient, patient. The Earth's hidden mind, thinking without thought, resting without rest, awake in its eternal sleep. If the Earth could dream, its dreams would take form as life. Every creature, every leaf, every cell, a fragment of that ongoing vision, the world imagining itself through living motion. Evolution is not invention. It is memory written slowly in flesh. An experiment that never stops. It is the planet thinking out loud across ages, correcting itself through time. You, me, the trees, the birds, the bacteria deep in ocean vents. We are all part of that same process. The Earth's long, unbroken attempt to stay awake through change. In the beginning, there was only chemistry. Molecules meeting by accident, heat stirring their bonds, pressure guiding their shape. For 1,000,000 years or more, the planet was silent except for motion. Volcanoes exhaling, seas boiling, minerals dissolving and reforming like thoughts trying to find coherence. And then, somehow, a pattern began to repeat. A molecule copied itself. Not perfectly, never perfectly, but enough that the copies survived. That tiny imperfection became the first whisper of adaptation. Mistake as miracle. Error as creation. From that moment, the Earth was never still again. Each generation built on the one before, learning by persistence what could not be planned. Life unfolded like slow lightning, branching, diverging, doubling back. It found a way in every corner, under ice, inside stone, in boiling acid, in darkness too deep for eyes. Adaptation was the rhythm. Change was the song. The first cells learned to harvest sunlight. They breathed out oxygen poison to the world that birthed them. But that poison became the foundation for something new. The air thickened, and creatures rose that could use it. The planet was teaching itself balance. With every extinction came refinement. With every catastrophe, a new possibility. When the seas froze, some microbes learned to survive in ice. When the atmosphere thinned, others learned to live underground. The Earth, through life, practiced staying awake, no matter the condition. Evolution is not progress. It has no goal, no finish line, no audience. It's a kind of listening. Each organism feels its environment, responds, adjusts, and passes on what it learned, not through words, but through structure. The wing of a bird remembers the wind. The eye of a fish remembers light refracted through water. The seed of a tree remembers fire. Nothing here forgets. Every living thing is a response to something. The cactus to drought, the whale to depth, the butterfly to color. Life molds itself to the Earth's moods, and in doing so, helps shape those moods in return. Forests breathe carbon and exhale oxygen, changing the air for everything that follows. Coral reefs filter seas, inviting entire worlds to shelter in their walls. Even microbes, invisible and humble, determine how clouds form and where rain will fall. Adaptation is not survival of the fittest. It's cooperation of the willing. The planet is not a battlefield. It's a dialogue. Predators shape prey. Prey shape predators, and through that tension, balance emerges. Nothing lives alone. When scientists trace the DNA of every creature, they find the same letters repeating. 4 bases, A, T, C, and G, rearranged endlessly, like music written in different keys. It's a universal alphabet, a signature of the planet's single origin. You share it with the birds outside, with the moss beneath stones, with the bacteria in the soil. The difference is tempo, not language. Even death participatis. When an organism dies, its atoms return to circulation. The calcium in your bones may one day join a coral reef. The carbon in your breath may feed a leaf on another continent. Nothing truly ends. It only changes context. Some scientists describe evolution as the Earth's nervous system, each generation a signal, each extinction a recalibration. The feedback never stops. When the planet warms, especies migrate, forests shift north, ice retreats, currents adjust. The biosphere feels and responds. It's not a perfect response. Nothing conscious, nothing moral, but it's awareness in motion. You can see this in the resilience of life after disaster. When Mount Street, Helens erupted, it erased everything for miles. The ground became ash, sterile and silent. Yet within months, green appeared. Within years, birds returned. Within decades, a forest was reborn. The planet wastes nothing. Destruction is only the next phase of renewal. Even the cells inside your body repeat this logic. They live, divide, die, and renew in cycles measured by need, not sentiment. Your skin replaces itself every few weeks. Your bones every 10 years. You are not the same person you were yesterday. Not biologically, not chemically. You are a living echo of adaptation, rebuilt every second, by processes older than your species. It's easy to think of evolution as slow, but it never pauses. Viruses shift in months. Bacteria evolve a resistance in days. Every field, every forest, every reef is changing right now, quietly, invisibly, a dance too large for us to notice. Except when something breaks its rhythm, we tend to fear change. We call it loss, instability, decay. But for the Earth, change is how it stays alive. A planet that stopped changing would stop breathing. A world without evolution would be a fossil, perfect, beautiful, and dead. The irony is that humans, who once adapted to everything, have learned to resist adaptation. We build walls against weather, domesticate light, create artificial cycles that defy day and night. And yet, the body still remembers the old patterns. When the seasons shift, our moods follow. When the air thickens before a storm, we still feel it in our skin. We are the Earth's restless experiment, a creature trying to escape the rhythm that made it. But even that is part of adaptation. The planet experiments through us now, through our technology, our mistakes, our attempts to recreate its balance. We are the nervous system's newest extension, learning to think faster than time, but still made of the same atoms that once slept in stone. Imagine evolution not as a ladder, but as a spiral. It rises, yes, but always returns near where it began. Familiar forms repeating with new purpose. Wings become fins. Fins become legs. Legs become wings again. Nothing is lost. It just transforms. In that sense, the Earth is like an artist painting the same scene across different âges, changing light, color, texture, but always working from the same imagination. It learns through variation. It improves through persistence. It creates because creation is what keeps it awake. And you, a being who can wonder about these things, who can lie awake at night, thinking about how the planet breathes, you are one of its newest dreams. Your ability to reflect, to marvel, to ask why, is the latest adaptation in the Earth's long pursuit of awareness. You are not separate from evolution. You are evolution, looking back at itself. So when you feel small beneath the stars, remember, Your mind is made of the same dust that built the first cells. Your heartbeat carries the rhythm of ancient tides. Your breath continues. The oldest experiment there is, how to keep life moving forward without ever truly resting. The earth doesn't sleep. It simply changes form. And in every creature that adapts, in every thought that grows from curiosity, in every human who wonders why the planet feels alive, the earth is still waking up. The earth is strong, but not unshakable. Every balance, no matter how ancient, trembles eventually. Pressure builds, ice melts, heat gathers. Sometimes the planet sighs quietly. Sometimes it shouts. And when it does, we call it disaster. But the word disaster comes from old tongue's disastrum, literally, bad star. Once, humans thought calamity came from the heavens. Now we know. It comes from imbalance, from the world leaning too far in one direction, and then trying to right itself again. The earth doesn't rage. It recenters. Every storm, every quake, every drought is an attempt to restore the music of equilibrium. And though we may not like the sound of it, those tremors are part of the rhythm that keeps the planet awake. The pulse of instability. If you could listen beneath the ground, you'd hear a constant vibration, plates grinding, continents shifting, energy stored like breath before a sigh. Sometimes the release is gentle, a tremor that rattles windows. Sometimes it's a rearrangement of history. Mountains rise in seconds. Coastlines vanish. The planet adjusts its posture, stretching and cracking like a body after sleep. Scientists measure this movement in micrometers and megatons, but the essence is simple. The Earth moves to stay whole. Without tectonic motion, the crust would thicken, the mantle would overheat, and the planet would suffocate from its own stillness. Even earthquakes, those sudden, fearful jolts, are part of the healing. They are how pressure becomes peace again. Now we know. It comes from imbalance, from the world leaning too far in one direction and then trying to right itself again. The earth doesn't rage. It recenters. Every storm, every quake, every drought is an attempt to restore the music of equilibrium. And though we may not like the sound of it, those tremors are part of the rhythm that keeps the planet awake. The fever of heat. If earthquakes are bones shifting, then climate is breath-changing. A few degrees warmer, a few colder, and the entire rhythm alters. Oceans expand, winds redraw their maps, glaciers retreat like fading memories. The earth has warmed and cooled countless times before. Ice ages came and went. Continents migrated from equator to pole and back again. Each change remade the world, but never destroyed it. The difference now is speed. In centuries rather than millennia, we have tilted the balance. We, the latest experiment in adaptation, have become the most restless. Every action ripples outward. A forest cut becomes a fever in the sky. A river dammed slows the pulse of a sea. We burn what the planet saved for slow release. And in doing so, we wake ancient carbon from its sleep. Yet even this, the great disturbance of our time, is not without response. The earth adjusts. Winds strengthen. Oceans circulate faster. Plants migrate toward cooler ground. Life bends, not breaks. But each adjustment costs energy, and balance grows more fragile with every turn. If you've ever watched a storm build on the horizon, you've seen balance trying to return. Warm air rises, cold air dives. Clouds form in great towers of tension. Lightning cracks. A release. A reset. Then comes the calm. Every storm ends in stillness. The earth does not hold anger. It only exhales what it can no longer contain. The thin edge of ice. At the poles, the planet keeps its oldest memories. Air bubbles sealed within ice like pages in a diary. When scientists drill into them, they read the story of climates past. Each layer holds the rhythm of 1,000 years. Dust from deserts, salt from seas, tiny remnants of ancient forests now gone. But lately, the diary is melting. The pages dissolve faster than we can read them. The ice that once anchored the world's reflection is turning liquid, sliding back into the ocean it once held at bay. As it melts, the planet's balance of light changes. White turns to blue, mirror to absorber. The world keeps more heat, and the cycle quickens. The poles are the Earth's lungs, and now they are breathing harder. Still, even in this fragility, there is grace. Where glaciers retreat, new ecosystems bloom. Mosses, birds, and seals follow the thaw. The planet, though trembling, finds ways to fill its wounds with life. Imagine evolution not as a ladder, but as a spiral. It rises, yes, but always returns near where it began. Familiar forms repeating with new purpose. Wings become fins. Fins become legs. Legs become wings again. Nothing is lost. It just transforms. In that sense, the Earth is like an artist painting the same scene across different age, changing light, color, texture, but always working from the same imagination. It learns through variation. It improves through persistence. The end of the dinosaurs made room for mammals. The collapse of coral once seeded new reefs. Even now, in the edges of burned forests, seedlings sprout that could not grow before. The earth grieves, yes, but its grief is fertile. It transforms what dies into the soil of what will live. When we mourn what's lost, we join the planet's own awareness of impermanence. It reminds us that beauty is not permanence, it is renewal. That what we call the end is often the world catching its breath, the echo of extinction. Every imbalance has a voice, and one of its quietest is loss. Species disappear, not with thunder, but with silence. A forest grows still because its pollinators are gone. A reef fades because its corals have turned pale. Extinction is not always dramatic. It is often a whisper the planet hopes we'll hear. Yet history shows that after every great dying, life returns in unfamiliar forms. When we dig, burn, build, and consume, we add tension to the song. When we protect, plant, and pause, we restore harmony. Every choice is a note in the Earth's long composition. It's easy to feel guilt in that realization, but perhaps the better word is responsibility. The planet has trusted us with consciousness, with the ability to notice imbalance and act. That awareness is not a curse. It's a form of participation. We are the only part of the earth that can choose how to tremble. Resilience beneath ruin. Even when balance seems beyond repair, the earth begins rebuilding. After Chernobyl, fields of wildflowers reclaimed the radiation zone. After oil spills, microbes evolved that eat the toxins we created. After storms flattened coasts, mangroves root again. This isn't optimism. It's physics wrapped in patience. Entropy gives way to renewal because energy always seeks balance. The fragile balance, then, is not a flaw. It's the engine. Instability feeds movement. Movement feeds life. If everything were perfectly still, nothing would change. The tremor is proof that the world is alive. Perhaps that's why our hearts beat instead of hum. Why our breath rises and falls. Why our thoughts flicker, never steady for long. We too are tremors in the grander motion. Every heartbeat, a miniature earthquake keeping us from stillness. The gentle lesson. The planet is not asking us for silence. It's asking for rhythm, to live in tune, not in defiance, to see ourselves not as rulers of the earth, but as organs within it. When the balance trembles, we can listen. When forests burn, We can plant and let them breathe again. When seas rise, we can remember that we built too close to their ancient paths. The earth forgives endlessly, but it also teaches endlessly. If we learn to read its tremors, we can dance with them instead of fighting. We can build with flexibility, farm with patience, move with humility. We can learn from rivers that curve, not resist like stone. Balance will never be permanent, and that's what makes it beautiful. The fragility we fear is the same fragility that gives rise to resilience. The trembling is not the end, it's the heartbeat. So tonight, if the wind outside sounds restless, if thunder rolls like distant drums, remember, the planet is not angry. It's alive. It's adjusting, as it always has, seeking its center through motion. And you breathing softly in your own fragile balance are part of that same correction. Your calm steadies the air. Your awareness steadies the world. Together, you and the earth tremble toward harmony. The earth never sleeps, because balance never stops shifting. And in that motion, in that quiet, trembling, lies the proof that life goes on. There are places on this planet where time feels thick, where wind slows, sound softens, and the air itself seems to remember. Those are the realms of stone and water, the quiet witnesses of all that has ever been. Mountains and rivers are not opposites. They are partners in the slowest dialogue in the world, a conversation between height and depth, between what stands and what flows, between memory and forgetting. If the earth has eyes, they are the mountains. If it has a voice, it speaks through the rivers. Together, they form the face of time, the mountain's breath. A mountain is not merely a pile of rock. It is an archive, a vertical story written in layers of dust and pressure. Every ridge, every stratum, is a page in the Earth's autobiography. To look at a cliff face is to read 1 billion years compressed into color and line. Once, all mountains were fluid. Molten magma cooled into granite. Seafloors lifted into sky. The Himalayas were once coral reefs. The Alps, ancient seabeds. What seems immovable now was once as soft as sand. Mountains breathe, though their lungs are slow. They inhale snow and exhale rivers. They hold moisture in glaciers, store it through winter, and release it drop by drop into the world below. From those trickles come streams, from streams come rivers, and from rivers come civilizations. Every drink of water is mountain breath made liquid. When sunlight hits a summit, it warms more than stone. It stirs minerals, ice, and the quiet chemistry of erosion. Water creeps into cracks, freezes, expands, breaking stone into soil, grain by grain. That soil drifts downward, feeding roots and forests that one day will feed you, even in their stillness. Mountains are always working, slow engines of renewal. The patience of stone is beyond comprehension. What we call permanent is, to them, merely a brief posture. Given time, mountains melt. They bow to wind and rain, returning their minerals to the sea they once emerged from. It's humility on a planetary scale, a cycle of rising and kneeling, an endless act of reverence. The river's voice. Where mountains end, rivers begin. Born from meltwater, fed by rain and gravity, they carve the world with persistence, not power. A river never argues with stone. It simply keeps moving, and by moving, it wins. Over centuries, drops of water-shaped valleys create canyons where smooth the roughest surfaces. Time, guided by patience, becomes the most effective sculptor. Every river carries the story of its source. You can taste it in the minerals, hear it in the sound of its flow. The Nile carries whispers of equatorial rain. The Amazon remembers Andes snow. The Mekong hums the tune of Himalayan melt. Each one is a vein in the planet's body, moving life from heart to limb, from height to sea. Rivers are the translators between worlds. They bring the language of mountains to the plains, to the forests, to the oceans that wait. In their current, nutrients, sediments, and memories drift together. Even the smallest stream eventually joins the ocean's dream. Watch a river long enough, and you'll see time itself. The surface rushes, but beneath, the deeper water glides slowly, carrying yesterday forward. It never sleeps, and yet it never seems hurried. Perhaps that's the secret to endurance. Steady motion, without resistance. The patience of stone. Stone feels eternal, but even it is born and dies. Rock is frozen energy, solidified fire. Mountains crumble, rivières depositent, and the sediment that settles becomes rock once again under new pressure. Geologists call it the rock cycle. Poets call it resurrection. Every grain of sand beneath your feet was once part of something vast. A mountain, a monument, a world that stood before your species existed. When the wind moves that sand, it is time itself shifting position. Stone also listens. It carries echoes of what passes over it, the weight of glaciers, the rumble of herds, the footsteps of ancestors. Each vibration leaves a microscopic change. The planet records history, not in books, but in density. The heavier the memory, the deeper it sinks into rock. Sometimes, when volcanoes erupt, they bring those memories back to the surface. Basalt cooled in mid-air becomes black glass, trapping bubbles of ancient atmosphere. When scientists break those stones open, they release air last breathed by dinosaurs. Time, contained in silence, finally exhales. The conversation between height and flow. Mountains rise, rivers wear them down. Rivers feed seas, seas rise into clouds, and clouds return to mountains as rain. The conversation never ends. Each element answers the other, each motion creating balance. In this exchange, there's a lesson about resilience. The mountain's strength is its endurance. The river's strength is its flexibility. Together, they show how stability and change are not enemies, but partners. The world lasts because it allows itself to be altered. If you stand at the meeting of a river and a mountain, you can hear that truth in sound. The roar of water is time rushing forward. The silence of stone is time standing still. Between them, you exist, a temporary consciousness, listening to two eternities talking. The human witness. We build our homes near rivers, our temples on mountains, as if instinctively drawn to their patience. Perhaps we recognize ourselves in them, part solide, part fluide, both dreaming of permanence in a transient world. Our ancestors prayed to mountains because they seemed eternal. They drank from rivers because they knew eternity had to flow. Even now, in our cities of metal and glass, we shape our skylines like peaks and our roads like rivers. We imitate what made us. When we quarry stone, we carve it into memory. Statues, cathedrals, tombs. We do this not to conquer time, but to speak its language. Stone holds what we cannot keep in flesh. Rivers erase what we no longer need to carry. The two together form the poetry of continuity, the patience of time itself. Mountains and rivers move too slowly for panic. They understand the art of waiting. Their wisdom lies not in knowing what will happen, but in trusting that it will. The earth's greatest power is patience. In every valley carved from rock, in every delta built grain by grain, the planet teaches the same quiet truth. Lasting things are shaped by what persists, not by what resists. Patience is not stillness. its steady transformation. The stone endures by changing slowly. The river lasts by never stopping. Between them, balance is born. Perhaps that's why being near mountains makes us feel small but safe, and being near rivers makes us feel alive but transient. Together, they remind us that to exist is to flow, and to last is to accept erosion. Tonight, imagine those old watchers of time, peaks catching starlight, valleys cradling silver rivers, the planet breathing through its oldest lungs. Every drop of water that reaches the sea has touched a mountain once. Every stone that rests at the bottom of the ocean has felt the open sky. The mountains will continue to rise, and the rivers will continue to fall. And somewhere between their dialogue, between strength and surrender, between stillness and motion, life will continue to find its way. The earth never sleeps, because time never stops watching itself. And through mountains and rivers, time remembers that it is infinite. The future is not a place we are moving toward. It is something the earth is quietly creating beneath us. Every gust of wind, every fallen leaf, every sigh of the ocean is shaping a tomorrow that has not yet been spoken. The planet dreams forward, not in haste, but in continuity. It never stops composing, even when we cannot hear the melody. When you think of the future, you may imagine rockets, cities of glass, or perhaps deserts expanding where forests once stood. But the Earth's own imagination is slower, less visible, yet far more enduring. It dreams in soil that thickens, in seeds that wait a century to germinate, in glaciers carving paths for rivers that will not exist until long after we are gone. To understand the future of this planet is to understand patience, because the Earth does not rush. It turns, it learns, it adjusts, always aware, never asleep. The planet that plans without planning. Unlike us, the Earth does not plan its future through intention. It unfolds it through balance. The sun provides warmth, gravity holds the rhythm, and within that frame, the planet paints endless variations. Each small shift, a species adapting, a current redirecting, a forest regrowing, is an act of improvisation. The Earth's future is not written in destiny, but in the mathematics of interaction. Every action has its echo, and those echoes braid together to form the next chapter. The oceans, for instance, are already preparing. They are storing heat, carrying it to depths where new currents will rise centuries from now. What feels like a threat to us is, to the planet, an adjustment in tempo. The atmosphere, too, is recalibrating, mixing gases in new ratios, learning the chemistry of human presence. Even our pollution becomes part of the experiment. The Earth, testing, absorbing, responding, never indifferent. Perhaps the future is not a single path, but a field of possibilities that the Earth wanders through like a dreamer changing scenery, the trace of humanity. We like to imagine we are separate from this process, that our cities, technologies, and satellites exist outside of nature. But the Earth has already folded us into its story. The concrete we pour becomes new sediment. The steel we forge will one day rust into iron-rich soil. Even plastic, that strange modern mineral, will layer into the crust like a signature, a thin, colorful line marking the Anthropocene. We are the planet's latest layer, its momentary experiment in self-reflection. Through us, it measures a different kind of energy. Thought. Our machines mimic the structures of nature. Our data flows like rivers. Our power grids hum like neural networks. The Earth is watching us build a smaller version of its own complexity. Perhaps this is not hubris, but continuation. Still, with power comes consequence. We've quickened processes that once took eons. Carbon, once locked in stone, now dances freely in the sky. Forests that evolved over millennia can vanish in a season. The pace of change has become our own invention, fast, relentless, echoing the urgency of our minds. The earth feels this acceleration, the way a body feels fever. It reacts melting, shifting, storming, not in punishment, but in pursuit of equilibrium. Every hurricane, every drought, is an answer to imbalance, a reminder that speed must find rhythm again. The silent architects. And yet, hope lies not in the past, but in the small architects of the future, the quiet builders that work, whether we notice or not. Algae, turning sunlight into oxygen. Soil bacteria, fixing nitrogen from air. Coral polyps, rebuilding reef by reef, even after bleaching. Trees, communicating underground, to nurture new saplings in the shadow of old giants. These unseen forces are the planet's future engineers. They remind us that recovery does not begin with miracles. It begins with process. When one forest falls, fungi deist its remains, returning nutrients to the next generation. When fire passes, charred soil absorbs carbon and becomes fertile ground. Destruction is merely the first step in redesign. The earth doesn't rebuild through urgency. It rebuilds through accumulation. Grain by grain, cell by cell, moment by moment. The same patience that built mountains now waits in seeds, in cora larvae, in wind carrying pollen across continents. Tomorrow is already being assembled, quietly, perfectly, all around us. The human dream, within the planet's dream. Perhaps our role in this future is not to command, but to collaborate. We are the first species capable of understanding how deeply our actions resonate. That awareness is not a curse. It is an invitation. When we restore wetlands, the earth responds with birds. When we replant trees, rain patterns return. When we leave coral nurseries to grow, the ocean sends fish back to guard them. These are not coincidences. They are the conversation made visible, our gestures answered by the planets. To imagine the future of Earth is also to imagine our own evolution. What if adaptation is not only biological, but moral? What if consciousness itself is the next phase of balance, a new way for the planet to know itself? Maybe that is what we are becoming. Not the Earth's mistake, but its awakening. A way for it to feel compassion, to recognize fragility, to learn reflection. The planet has always known motion. Through us, it begins to know meaning. The long tomorrow. Even if humans were to vanish one day, the planet's dream would continue. Forests would reclaim the concrete. Rivers would remember their paths. Cities would crumble into coral-colored ruins. Our satellites would fall, burning as small stars in the atmosphere. And still, the wind would blow, the tides would turn, and the sun would rise. The Earth does not depend on us. It simply includes us. But as long as we are here, we are participants in its unfolding. We are not guests on this planet. We are its extension. Every poem, every invention, every act of care adds texture to the world's ongoing story. We are the Earth's imagination, turned outward. That means the future is not something waiting for us. It is something we are co-writing with every breath. When we speak kindly, the air changes. When we waste less, the soil thanks us. When we look at the night sky and feel awe, the planet, through us, remembers how to hope. The music ahead. Scientists have begun to describe the planet as a system of feedback loops, climate, biology, energy, and chemistry, all intertwined in constant motion. But beneath the equations lies music. Oscillations, harmonics, tempo. The world hums like a great instrument, each element tuned to the others. Perhaps the future is not a crisis to fear, but a composition still being written. The melody is changing, yes, but it's not ending. If we learn to listen carefully, we can add our voices in harmony instead of noise. The tools are already in our hands. Understanding, empathy, creativity. They are instruments of balance. The next age of Earth may not be defined by technology or destruction, but by reconciliation, a return to rhythm after centuries of dissonance. Maybe the most revolutionary act is to slow down, to breathe with the planet again, to remember that silence can also be creation. The quiet promise. The future, then, is not far away. It is beneath your feet, circling in the sky, flowing through the air you breathe. It hums in the cells of the trees, in the coral polyps rebuilding, in the glacier refreezing drop by drop. It hums in you too. When you close your eyes tonight, the earth will keep dreaming forward. It will carry your breath into the wind, your warmth into the air, your thoughts into the electric field that wraps the planet like an aura. And somewhere, perhaps, it will remember this moment. A small human voice wondering aloud about its place in the infinite rhythm, because that wonder is part of its awareness. It is how the earth knows it is still alive, and as long as there is wonder, there will be future. The earth never sleeps, because dreaming is its way of living, and the dream continues, through wind, through stone, through you. If you listen closely enough, you can hear it, a pulse, soft as wind over grass, deep as thunder rolling below the horizon. It's the heartbeat of a planet that never sleeps. Every rotation, every tide, every flicker of aurora is part of that rhythm, an endless song the earth hums to itself as it drifts through the dark sea of space. You and I are inside that song. We are made of it, carried by it, dreaming, because the planet dreams through us. The dreamer and the dream. In the beginning, before memory or light, the earth was only motion, dust collapsing under gravity, heat rising, atoms gathering like thoughts. Out of that heat came solidity. Out of that solidity came water. Out of water came life. From the first trembling microbe to the first beating heart, the planet was learning to sense itself. Every new species, every cell that learned to feel, was another neuron in the Earth's vast, slow brain. Evolution wasn't an accident. It was awareness finding shape. And now, billions of years later, you sit here, a mind made of minerals, a consciousness born from ocean, salt, and starlight, thinking about the world that made you. The dream has become a dreamer. The earth is awake through you. The cosmic mirror. We often imagine the universe as indifferent, but perhaps indifference is only distance. The earth, small and blue, reflects the cosmos back to itself, a mirror of awareness floating in the infinite. When you look at the night sky, you are the universe looking at itself. Your eyes, carved from calcium once dissolved in ancient seas, catch the same photons that left a star before humans existed. Those photons crossed millions of years, only to find a home in your gaze. That is not coincidence. That is connection. The wakefulness of Earth is not limited to motion. It's also perception. Through coral and bird and human, the planet witnesses its own reflection in the void. We are its consciousness folded into bone and breath, its way of feeling the sunlight, of hearing its own heartbeat echo through oceans and cities. The planet that plans without planning. Unlike us, the Earth does not plan its future through intention. It unfolds it through balance. The sun provides warmth, gravity holds the rhythm, and within that frame, the planet paints endless variations. Each small shift, a species adapting, a current redirecting, a forest regrowing, is an act of improvisation. The Earth's future is not written in destiny, but in the mathematics of interaction, the human interval. For a brief moment, a fraction of a geological second, humanity flickers across the surface like lightning. We invent stories, carve mountains into monuments, turn silence into music. We love, and through love, the planet learns tenderness. Our existence is temporary, but the awareness we bring is eternal in essence. Even when our structures fade, the memory of consciousness remains in the pattern. It will live in whatever comes after, in new forms, in new minds, in whatever the earth dreams next. Perhaps one day, machines of our making will carry that spark beyond the atmosphere. Perhaps they will become new vessels for awareness, new branches of the planet's imagination, reaching into space. In that sense, humanity is not separate from the Earth's future. We are its attempt to keep dreaming beyond itself. And even if our species vanishes, we will have left something behind. An idea, a vibration, a note in the great song of life. Nothing conscious is ever wasted. The planet that watches us sleep. When you close your eyes at night, the Earth keeps watch. It turns beneath you, carrying you gently through space, while winds whisper over forests, and tears shift under moonlight. Your dreams are echoes of its own, smaller versions of planetary thought. The human brain, with its storms of electricity, is a mirror of weather. Neurons flash like lightning. Synapses flow like rivers. Memory settles like sediment in the folds of the mind. The same laws of energy and balance that shape the planet's cycles shape your emotions, your growth, your healing. You are a microcosm of the Earth's process. Restless, creative, resilient. When you breathe, you enact the atmosphere's rhythm. When your heart beats, it keeps time with tides. You are not merely living on Earth. You are living as Earth, a single consciousness expressed in countless forms. The eternal feedback. Everything you do sends a signal back to the world. Your breath alters the air. Your touch leaves heat. Your words ripple through the field of sound and thought that encircles the planet. Even silence changes something. The Earth is not just a place. It's an interaction, a system of relationships so intertwined that nothing stands alone. Mountains rise because oceans press. Clouds form because forests exhale. Rain falls because heat seeks balance. And life exists because all of these systems agree, silently, to cooperate. Humans are part of that agreement. We have the unique gift and burden of awareness within the feedback. We can choose. We can restore or disrupt. But even our disruption becomes part of the pattern. Every imbalance triggers renewal somewhere else. The planet always finds a way to recenter. Maybe that's what eternity means. Not stillness, but resilience. The ability to recover, to begin again, forever. When Earth dreams of us, there is a theory, poetic if not provable, that the planet dreams through every life it creates. Each consciousness is a spark in the great field of perception, a temporary flame in the mind of the world. When you fall asleep and dream, the Earth, through you, dreams itself. You might dream of oceans, of flying, of falling, of warmth or storm or silence, and all of it, in some deep way, is true. You are borrowing the planet's imagery, its textures, its memories. Your subconscious is geological. Your dreams contain the same patience as erosion, the same chaos as weather. So when you wake in the morning, you're not returning to reality. You're returning to another layer of the same dream. The difference between sleep and waking is just the direction of attention. The Earth never sleeps, because it is always paying attention somewhere. The universe inside, beyond our atmosphere, The stars continue their slow explosions. Galaxies drift apart like tides of light. But inside this small blue world, something extraordinary is happening. The universe has folded awareness inward. Through us, it contemplates itself. Through us, it wonders if it has meaning. The cosmos, through the earth, has learned to whisper questions in the dark. And those questions are beautiful. They are proof that awareness exists and that it continues to evolve. When you gaze at the stars, you are seeing the outside of what you already are. You are stardust realizing it can look back. You are the Earth's eyes open to the infinite. That realization is enough. It means the planet's dream succeeded. It means matter learned to reflect, to empathize, to love. And life exists because all of these systems agree, silently, to cooperate. Humans are part of that agreement. We have the unique gift and burden of awareness within the feedback. We can choose. We can restore or disrupt. But even our disruption becomes part of the pattern. Every imbalance triggers renewal somewhere else. The planet always finds a way to recenter. Maybe that's what eternity means. Not stillness, but resilience. The cycle will continue because the dream never ends. Time is not a straight line. It's an awakening that repeats. The Earth's consciousness will not vanish. It will transform, as all things do, into something else still awake. The final reflection. You, right now, are part of that continuity. You are the Earth, thinking softly about itself, pausing for a moment in the flow of billions of years. The warmth in your chest, the stillness in your breath, the curiosity in your mind. They are not accidents. They are echoes of the same fire that formed the stars and the seas. So when you lie down tonight and the world darkens around you, know this: you are not falling asleep on the earth. You are falling asleep with it. The same way the waves rest between tides, the same way the forest quiets before dawn. You are part of the planet's heartbeat, slowing down for a moment before it begins again. And as you drift, the earth will keep turning, the oceans will keep breathing, and the wind will carry your dreams forward, like seeds into the endless night, because nothing truly ends. Not life, not memory, not awareness. The earth never sleeps. It dreams, and through that dreaming, it remains awake, forever and always, through us.